कैसा लग रहा है?
काफ़ी अच्छा लग रहा है, काफ़ी लॉन्ग टाइम बाद मैं खेलने वाला हूँ एक लैन, सो इट फील्स ग्रेट।
लास्ट टाइम आए थे बट मैचेस के अंदर थोड़ा सा लेफ्ट राइट था।
Yep.
इस बार तो होगा ना हमारे साथ 22 दिन?
इस बार पूरा टाइम हूँ, 22 के 22 दिन हूँ।
यो इसका मतलब टिकने वाला आखिरी तक है। सो अभी चालू करें, मतलब कुछ सवाल लिखे कंटेंट मशीन हमारे चेतन भगत ने, रेडी है इसके लिए?
जरूर।
ठीक है। सो अभी आपकी टीम मुबारक है एक और बार भाई, क्या बात है, मेंटोर करा एक लाइनअप को और लाइनअप ऑफिशियल जीत गया यहाँ पे। स्टेज पे मैंने चेहरे पे ना वो देखा, मतलब कहते ना एक कहते थोड़ा सा ऐसे था कि बोलना बहुत कुछ आता था, मौका नहीं मिला, बट आज यहाँ पर अगर मौका है तो हो जाए यार।
अरे बहुत सारी चीज़ होती है जो हम कैमरे में बोल नहीं सकते, और स्पेशली इमोशंस को आप कितना ही वर्ड से आप डिस्क्राइब कर पाओगे, वो प्रैक्टिकली पॉसिबल नहीं है। और उस टीम के साथ अलग ही कनेक्शन है, क्योंकि 2 साल 3 साल लग गए थे उस टीम के साथ, एक ही छत के अंदर रह के हमने मेहनत किया था। पहले ऑफिशियल में हम लोग 3rd आए थे, सेम स्टोरी रिपीट हुई हम लोग की इस बार में कि हम लोग बाहर हो गए थे क्वालिफायर्स से, फिर इन गेम क्वालिफायर्स आए। तो इन गेम क्वालिफायर्स आना बहुत ज़्यादा एक हार्श जर्नी रहता है, क्योंकि आपको पता नहीं कब क्या हो सकता है। क्योंकि वो जो नॉकआउट स्टेज होता है वो मेरे हिसाब से फाइनल से भी ज़्यादा डेडली स्टेज होता है। आपके पास मैचेस कम रहते हैं और आपको हर एक मैच अच्छा खेलना है, क्योंकि अच्छा नहीं खेलोगे तो आप जो आपका सपना उसी पॉइंट में ख़त्म हो गया है। तो हम उस पॉइंट से आके, और जैसे फाइनल्स पहुंचे थे, मेरे टीममेट्स ने मेरे को सीधा यही बोला था कि भाई हम तो ये जीत रहे हैं, वी आर विनिंग दिस। तो एक डेस्टिनी सेट था और एक वाइब था कि यस वी आर विनिंग दिस। हाँ, एक अलग एक्सपीरियंस था, अलग ही फीलिंग था, और इमोशनल तो आई थिंक मेरे से ज़्यादा बहुत लोगों के लिए एक पर्सनल विक्ट्री थी। ऑडियंस हो गए, बहुत सारे ऑफिशियल स्टाफ हो गए जो लोग मेरे साथ जुड़े हुए स्टार्टिंग से, जो मुझे पर्सनली जानते 2018 से, उन सब के लिए आई थिंक एक इमोशनल कनेक्ट था उस टीम के साथ, और एक पर्सनल विक्ट्री मेरे लिए नहीं थी, बहुत बड़ी फैमिली के लिए थी।
नो डाउट वहाँ पे जितने भी प्लेयर मौजूद थे ना, जो स्टाफ में भी हो गए, उर्वेश हो गया, ऑस्मम हो गया, वो सबके चेहरों पे जरूर झलक रहा था। बट अब स्काउट, यू आर वन ऑफ द ओल्डेस्ट प्लेयर इन द कम्युनिटी, मतलब आज भी वो कहते हैं ना वो 24 घंटे वाली हसल, वो ग्राइंड रुका नहीं है। और जबकि तेरे टाइम के जो प्लेयर हैं वो तो रिटायर से भी आगे जा चुके हैं। ऐसा क्या है तेरे में जो बाकी लोग मिस कर रहे हैं आज भी?
यार सपने बहुत बड़े देखे, तो सपने अभी तक कंप्लीट नहीं हुए, तो ऑब्वियसली इसलिए मैं मेहनत कर रहा हूँ। उनमें से एक बहुत बड़ा सपना था कि इंटरनेशनल में जाके इंडिया का फ्लैग के साथ जीतना है। वो नहीं पता कैसे होगा कंप्लीट, कुछ ना कुछ आगे जाके रास्ता बनेगा होपफुली, बट तब तक मेहनत करेंगे जब तक बाहर अपन नहीं ला पाते ट्रॉफी।
ये तो मैंने काफी बार सुना है कि ये हमेशा से एम रहा है कि इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर्स पे जाकर देश का नाम रोशन करना है।
100%।
बट अभी यू हैव टेकन मोर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। आप अकेला प्लेयर नहीं रह गए, आप एक मेंटोर भी हो, आप एक कंटेंट क्रिएटर भी हो। ऐसे ट्यूल के इतना बड़ी ऑर्ग है, प्रेशर रहता है उसका, ब्रांड वैल्यू अपनी आपको मैनेज रखनी है, कॉन्स्टेंटली आपको कंटेंट फ्लो करवाना अपने सोशल्स पे। ये सब कैसे मैनेज हो रहा है ब्रो? यहाँ पे मुझे 12 घंटे कम पड़ते हैं भाई पूरे ऑफिस में।
यार आई फील लाइफ सबके लिए अलग अलग रहती है, सबका स्ट्रगल अलग रहता है। मेरी स्ट्रगल किसी बंदे के लिए बहुत सपना रहेगा, किसी के लिए मेरा स्ट्रगल कुछ है नहीं, किसी के लिए मेरा स्ट्रगल हर चीज़ है। और मैं भी जिन लोगों को सोचता हूँ कि यार वो बंदा इतने टॉप लेवल पे, क्या पता उसकी लाइफ की हसल अलग है। सो मेरे लिए है कि मैं बहुत ब्लेस्ड हूँ कि मेरे को एक गेम खेलने के हर चीज़ मिलते हैं जो मुझे पसंद है। मेरा जो मनपसंद चीज़ मैं वो कर रहा हूँ, मुझे मज़ा आ रहा है। बहुत लोगों को जो पसंद नहीं है, उन लोग वो लाइफ के एक लूप में फंसे रहते हैं, स्टिल उन लोग एक लाइफ जी रहे हैं। तो मैं तो बहुत ब्लेस्ड हूँ कि मैं एक बहुत पीसफुल आरामदायक लाइफ जी रहा हूँ। अगर मैं इसमें कंप्लेन करने लग गया तो भाई फिर क्या ही रखा है। तो इसलिए मैं इसका एक ब्लेसिंग से लेके हर चीज़ को मैं खुशी खुशी करता हूँ।
तो देखने का नजरिया है आपको,
और इट्स ऑल अबाउट द पर्सपेक्टिव।
सो अब मैं भी आई ऑलवेज लुक अप टू यू कि भाई इस बंदे ने, बिकॉज तू मेरे से छोटा उम्र में, बट व्हेन आई सी यू डूइंग सो गुड इन योर करियर, मेरे से लाखों लोग हैं देश में यार जो देखते हैं कि स्काउट भाई जैसा बनना है। अपने निंजा लॉर्ड को देख लो, स्काउट भाई जैसा बनना है। कितने सारे लोग हैं जो अभी T1 में अच्छा खेल रहे हैं, दे स्टिल लुक अप टू यू एज अ होल, एक एज अ ह्यूमन। बट जो लोग एज अंडरडॉग जो नए आ रहे हैं मार्केट में, बिल्कुल कच्चे हैं, उनके लिए कोई ऐसी 2-3 टिप्स बता दे जिससे कि मतलब दे हैव अ गुड रन।
बहुत एक सिंपल एकदम कुछ शब्दों में बोलूँगा तो, लेट योर पैशन ड्राइव योर करियर, नॉट मनी। पैसा है जो है ना वो कभी भी आएगा कभी भी जाएगा, आज है कल नहीं है, कल है आज नहीं है, सिंपल चीज़ है। बट पैशन के लिए आप करोगे ना, आपको एक तो खुशी मिलेगी, आपका जो फोकस रहेगा एक जगह रहेगा कि आपको अचीव करना है। और पैसा बाई प्रोडक्ट है, टू बी ऑनेस्ट बाई प्रोडक्ट। आप अच्छा करोगे तो आपको पैसे मिलेंगे, आप खराब करोगे तो वो कम मिलेंगे, बट आपको मिलना ही है, जितना आप डिजर्व करते हो उतना मिलेगा। तो अंडरडॉग्स को मैं तो ये बोलूँगा कि यार आप एक सपना देखो जो बहुत बड़ा है, छोटे सपने मत देखो कि यार वो गाड़ी खरीदनी, ये मटेरियलिस्टिक चीज़ें कभी आप कर सकते हो। ऐसा कुछ सपना देखो ना जिसके लिए आपको टाइम लगे, सालों लगे, तब उसको अचीव करते 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 आप बहुत सारी चीज़ें उसके नीचे वाली अचीव कर लोगे। तो मेरा ये मानना है कि सपने बड़े देखो यार।
मतलब एक बड़ा सपना जिसके अंदर छोटे छोटे
मल्टीपल चीजें निकल जाएगी अंदर।
थोड़ा इंटरस्टेलर वाला इंसेप्शन हो गया यहाँ पे। बट अब ये फाइनल सवाल है स्काउट, ये तो मतलब हैंड्स डाउन है, मतलब इसमें तो हाथ जुड़वा लो ऊपर वाले से, सब जगह से तेरे भी पढ़ लूंगा मैं। मुझे वो स्काउट याद है जो यूट्यूब की ना मतलब 50-60 हज़ार की वॉचिंग में ना किसी को भी भड़का देता था, किसी ने चू करी चा कर देगा, मतलब तुम पहल पहल हम करते नहीं, दूल हम छोड़ते नहीं। वो स्काउट वर्सेस ये स्काउट, जमीन आसमान का फर्क है। गुरुजी कौन सी थेरेपी चलाई है? बिकॉज मैं 2-3 लोगों को जानता हूं, उनको भी जरूरत है
यार। आई फील इसको हम लोग एक वर्ड बोलते हैं जो है मैच्योरिटी। लोग बोलते हैं विथ एज आती है, मैं डिनाई करता हूँ। विथ एक्सपीरियंस आता है, विथ कंडीशंस आती है। आपके अराउंड लोग कैसे हैं वो आपको बहुत इम्पैक्ट करते हैं। बोलते हैं संगति का असर, जो बोलते हैं। स्टार्ट सराउंडिंग पीपल विथ सेम माइंडसेट, जो आपको एक्सेल करना चाहते हैं, कि आप वो चाहते हैं कि आप अपने सपने पूरे करो। ऐसे लोग, जब पॉजिटिव एनवायरनमेंट आता है ना, तो अपने आपको समझ आता है कि यार 2-3 लोग को उल्टा सुनाने में क्या ही रखा है। एक तो ज़िंदगी है, उसमें तुम एक दिन बर्बाद करो एक बंदे को सुनाने में, उतनी एनर्जी पॉजिटिव चीज़ में डाल दो, तुम्हारा ही फ़ायदा है। वो अलग चीज़ है भाई, किसी को सुनाने के पैसे मिलते तो वो भी कर लो, ज़्यादा आसान है। चिल्लाना ही तो है। बट जोक्स अपार्ट, बहुत अलग फेस था वो। मैं एक यंग लड़का था जो स्पोर्ट्स बैकग्राउंड से आया था, तो हमने भाई खून पसीने का आगे चीज़ें देखी नहीं थी, तो हमारे लिए ग्राउंड पे हर चीज़ होती थी। अब उस लौंडे को तुमने उठा के बिठा दिया कैमरा के सामने, खून पसीने से निकला हुआ लौंडा। अब बाकी लोग जो कैमरा पे आके काम करते थे, उन्होंने कभी खून पसीना देखा नहीं था, तो उन्होंने एक अलग सा पर्सपेक्टिव बनाया था जो होना चाहिए। क्योंकि आप जब सोशल मीडिया पे रहते हो, आप सिर्फ खुद के लिए बात नहीं कर रहे हो, आपसे बहुत लोग इमोशनली कनेक्ट हो जाते हैं, बहुत लोग मोटिवेट हो जाते हैं, बहुत लोग कॉपी कर रेप्लिकेट करने की चीज़ स्टार्ट करते हैं। क्योंकि हम लोग जिस कंट्री में रहते हैं वो एक इमोशनल ड्रिवन कंट्री है। आप यहाँ पे लोग बहुत इमोशनली कनेक्टेड होते हैं, लोग एक दूसरे से। अब वहाँ पे क्या एग्जाम्पल सेट करते हो वो बहुत ज़्यादा मैटर करता है। तो सोशल मीडिया एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म है हमारे कंट्री में खासकर, कि आप बहुत सारे लोगों को इंस्पायर कर सकते हो, एट द सेम टाइम बहुत सारे लोगों को एक तरफ मूव करवा सकते हो। अब वो आपके हाथ में पावर है, आप अच्छे तरीके से करो कि गलत तरीके से करो। पहले रियलाइज नहीं होता था कि मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, किसको सुना दे रहा हूँ। मैंने 1-2 बार एक्सपीरियंस किया, छोटे छोटे बच्चे वही चीज़ कर रहे जो मैं कर रहा हूँ, तो मुझे भी खराब लगा मैं क्या सिखा रहा हूँ इनको। कल को अगर किसी का बेटा वो सब चीज़ें करेगा जो मैं कर रहा था पहले, तो उसके पेरेंट्स कभी नहीं चाहेगा कि उसके ऐसा बने। रादर मैं उसको ऐसा चीज़ दिखाऊँ ना जो पॉजिटिव है, अच्छा है। बट हाँ, एट द एंड ऑफ द डे मैं स्टिल कुछ हूँ पहले ऐसा, मैं अपना पुराना चीज़ को हटा नहीं सकता कभी, ऑब्वियस रीजंस। क्योंकि मेरे को फेक रहने में कोई मज़ा नहीं आता है, और फेक रहना भी नहीं चाहिए। क्योंकि यार लोग इसलिए मुझे प्यार किया,
एक ना एक दिन दिख ही जाएगा, कितना छुपा लोगे।
कितना भी छुपाने की बात नहीं है, जो तुम हो उससे प्यार करेंगे ज़्यादा मज़ा आएगा। क्योंकि आप एक फेक पर्सनैलिटी को हर बार मेंटेन नहीं कर सकते। यू शुड बी व्हाट यू आर, बट इन अ पॉजिटिव वे।
नो, ये बात मुझे भी सही लगी, बिकॉज कुछ चीज़ें ना एज के साथ नहीं, एक्सपीरियंस के साथ आती है।
Exactly.
संगति ना मेरे हिसाब से बहुत सारा काम कर देती है।
100% यार, मतलब बहुत लोगों के लाइफ में ऐसे दोस्त है ना, तुम गलत करो, अबे भाई कर कोई दिक्कत नहीं भाई, सही है, तेरे भाई तेरे साथ खड़ा है।
हाँ, ये गलत
वो
है।
सबसे बड़े जो सी वाला वर्ड है ना, वो है वो। ऐसे लौंडे हैं जो गलत करो तो मैं टोके कि भाई तू गलत कर रहा है, ये मत कर, स्टैंड ले, गलत के लिए स्टैंड लो। तुम्हारा बंदा अगर कुछ गलत चीज़ कर रहा है तो उसको रोको, भाई ये गलत है, ये मत करियो। तुम अगर उसको उस चीज़ में आप सपोर्ट कर रहे हो, इट्स कंप्लीटली रॉन्ग। क्योंकि उसके दिमाग में क्या आ जाएगा, भाई मैं तो सही कर रहा हूँ, मेरे दोस्त मेरे साथ खड़े, दैट्स कंप्लीटली रॉन्ग। तो ऐसे लोगों को अवॉइड करो।
ये अपना ही स्काउट है, देख लो। बट ठीक है, थैंक यू सो मच भाई, टाइम निकाला, मज़ा आया। अब तो बस एक्साइटेड हूँ कि बस तू स्टेडियम पे उतरे और फिर से तहलका मचा दे। कुछ आखिरी वर्ड तेरी तरफ से?
लोग बोलते हैं कि प्राइम चला गया, मैं तो वही बोलूँगा, मैं तो प्राइम में एंटर कर रहा हूँ अभी।
दैट्स नाइस गाइस, ये थे हमारे तन्मय सिंह एके स्काउट ओपी। कितने सारे 1000 लाइनअप खेल लिए हैं, अभी खेल रहे हैं टीम जी के साथ। कौन कौन है तेरे लाइनअप पे? सैयद है,
काइलो, सैयद।
कितना कॉन्फिडेंट है? मतलब एक एस्टिमेट देख कितना हो जाएगा? ट्रॉफी दिमाग में ले रहा है, पोडियम ले रहा है, क्या ले रहा है?
टू बी ऑनेस्ट अभी कंपटीशन देख के तो सही बता तो ट्रॉफी ले सकते हैं, क्योंकि अभी तक कोई कंसिस्टेंट टीम नहीं है। नो डाउट मैं जिस टीम को मेंटर कर रहा हूँ, उन्होंने भी अभी तक लगातार 4-5 टूर्नामेंट इन रो नहीं जीता है। एक बंदा था जिसने ये चीज़ एक टाइम पे बहुत अच्छे से कर रहा था, दैट वाज डेस्ट्रो, बट उनका भी डिप आया।
गजब।
एग्जैक्टली। तो वो बंदा मेरे लिए बहुत ज़्यादा डेकोरेटिव प्लेयर है। बट कोई भी एक टीम अभी तक है नहीं, अगर आप भी एग्री कर सकते हो, ऑडियंस भी एग्री करेगी, जो कंसिस्टेंसी दिखाई है अभी तक।
पॉइंट
बहुत गिने जनाब उंगली में काउंट कर सकते हो टीम्स। आइकोसोल, मोगो, एक्सपार्क, और कौन सी है आप खुद बता दीजिए, आपके दिमाग में कुछ है तो।
कंसिस्टेंट तो नहीं है डेस्ट्रो, जिस तरीके से 2023 में किया है।
हाँ, तो स्टिल वी कैन नॉट नेग्लेक्ट व्हाट ही हैज डन।
नो डाउट, व्हाई?
एग्जैक्टली।
हाँ,
सो इट्स मोगो, एक्सपार्क, आइकोसोल। मेरे को चौथा, आई मे मिस समवन, बट
सोमराज जीता था बट उसने अब लाइनअप तोड़ लिया,
लाइनअप इज चेंज,
खत्म हो गया बिल्कुल।
उनका स्टार प्लेयर पुकार था।
बट डन भाई, मजा आया स्काउट तेरे से बात करके। एंड
Cool.
मुझे तो हमेशा अच्छा लगता है कि भाई पुराने भाई बैठते साथ वाले, यही है सिस्टम हमारा, ठीक है ना। जल्दी मुलाकात करेंगे, गुड लक फॉर योर मास्टर सीरीज मैचेस। बट यस, तो ये थे हमारे तन्मय सिंह एके स्काउट ओपी, गजब प्लेयर हैं और ये प्लेयर आपको दिखेंगे मास्टर सीरीज के स्टेज पे अब अगले एपिसोड में। टिल देन कीप गेमिंग।
It's one hell of a fine evening in the Android Arena, and we've only got a few days left for the top 4 teams directly shipped to the Grand Finals. Welcome to the Android BGMS Season 3, powered by Garnier's Men, where I'm going to be your host and Caster Necro. John alongside with me on the panel is going to be Scared Yet. And what's with this, man? I mean, I feel like you're having a great day today.
Absolutely. I'm having so much fun, to be very honest, and why can't I? Because, again, as soon as I come on this desk and as soon as I sit in front of the camera, the only thing that flashes through my mind is, again, that 1v4 that was pulled over the pistol. I can never get over it.
Assault on top of the wounds for Team Z, right? Neo pulling off that 1v4.
Yes.
Indeed, a Neo from Matrix type of clutch. But the interesting part about that entire clutch was he managed to take down 3 players of Team Z with just a pistol. Then later on, the last man was wrapped up with a shotgun. But you know what? This really brings me back the memories of the previous week as well, because CG was playing so tactical.
Yes.
And now look at CG. They're not even dropping in their own home turf. Instead, they're dropping all over the place. In the first game yesterday, they dropped towards Georgia Pool. In the second game, they directly dropped down south on top of the players of Team Z. So CG now is clearly on the path of aggression.
Yes, that's the whole point about it. And I guess we also had a chat with them where they mentioned that normally when they were playing strategically, when they were playing tactically, they would always lose a member. And even though they would try to prioritize the position, they would not eventually reach up with the 4-man squad entirely. So they decided, you know what, let's give up on all of that. Let's go aggressive. Let's change the gears. And as you mentioned, their change in the drop location clearly depicted that, where they wanted to fight one blade first in the Georgia Pool, and then it was Team Z again. They ended up trying to prioritize and target them. And what better than that early 8 points that you end up succeeding in grabbing?
I mean, hey, listen, man, there's a lot of things boggling my mind, but there's one specific thing that is still boggling and still scratching at the back of my head, and that's going to be the downfall of Entity. For some reason, this team was at the top 4 at the start of the entire league stage, and now look at them on the 11th spot in the overall standings. That's a big dip. And I'm not sure what exactly is going on with the boys, but I've clearly noticed one thing. Entity was playing a bit more aggressive in the first week, and now you try to compare their performance to the second week. Entity, they're not showcasing the same aggression anymore.
It just feels like that right now in the current scenario, we've been having a lot of Erangel maps, right? And with the record, which we have been seeing time after time, we've been constantly talking about the fact that their Miramar is a bit better. But you know what? Let's throw it down to Aquanox and hear it from his own words.
देखो, सबके लाइनअप में दिक्कत आती है. जो दिखाता है अच्छा, उनके लाइनअप में भी दिक्कत है. बट वही है कि लाइक जो छोटी छोटी आर्ग्यूमेंट्स होती है, उसमें तुम कैसे एक दूसरे से आर्ग्यूमेंट कर रहे हो, पॉजिटिव आर्ग्यूमेंट जो भी बोलो. बट वही है कि जहाँ ओपिनियन अलग हो जाते हैं 2 प्लेयर्स के या सबका, वहाँ मतलब ही नहीं बनता है कि तुम लड़ रहे हो, खाली फोर कुछ रिजल्ट नहीं आ रहा, ना कुछ गेम में इम्प्रूवमेंट आ रही है. सो उधर मतलब ही नहीं बनता, उधर मतलब अलग अलग वे में जाना चाहिए. एंड स्पोर्ट्स प्लेयर का यही जर्नी है. ग्रोथ देखो, जहाँ तुम एक जगह टिके हो, बार बार वही चीज़ कर रहे हो, वहाँ तुम दोनों पूरे टाइम वेस्ट ही कर रहे हो तुम लोग अपनी लाइनअप का भी एंड खुद का. सो यही बेटर है कि अलग अलग वे में जाके अपना ग्रोथ देखो एंड सेल्फ इम्प्रूवमेंट करो.
I mean, Aquanox has always been one of those players that's a fine instrument for Entity Gaming for their success. In the past, he's pulled off some miraculous clutches. And if you still remember one of those clutches against Basista Esports, one single nade taking down 3 players, while Entity, we thought that that team's going to be taken down by Basista Esports in a flawless manner.
But it just seems to be the case that Aquanox has decided to go on to the aggressive and has decided not to look back, not to stop whatsoever. But there's another player in this lineup which I wanted to talk about, I wanted to have a conversation for. It's definitely Raiden, right? Because when he was back in WSB, this man was fragging like a madman. He could go toe-to-toe against Aquanox. But now it just seems like that he's either not getting those opportunities, or even when he is, he's just not being able to perform. I
mean, that's a really good point that you brought up, right? In general, if you try to look at some of the lineups that we have been seeing so far, in general, there's one IGL and the rest 3 players are the fraggers. That's been the case with a few more teams inside of the entire playstyle. But as we move on towards the head-to-head between Erangel and Miramar, we clearly notice one thing, and that is there's a big up when it comes to the Miramar games of Entity.
That's the entire point which I mentioned early on as well in the pregame segment, that Entity, whenever they play on Miramar, they just feel a lot more comfortable. And I personally feel that is one of the big reasons why this team was in the top 4 itself, because we were having quite a few Miramar maps as well. But right now, it just seems that it's all Erangel. They just can't really find their footing, because Erangel is a little bit more messy as compared to Miramar.
I mean, fine. There's two ways to look at it. At the end of the day, a team should be prepared for a wrangle too.
Yes.
It is one of the most classic maps out there. It is understandable. Miramar requires a lot of your tactical brilliance, and that's why Somraj is the man who's sort of mastered the map of Miramar. But still, you need to look forward to the game of wrangles too. And if things are not working out tactically, that's when you sort of try to switch the gear and try and go on the aggressive footing. But Entity isn't doing so far.
It just seems that their plan is being figured out time after time. So, you know what? Do one thing that don't make a plan at all and just drop down to the enemy's location, because that's probably what seems to be working right now.
Yeah.
All the teams, they really want to just play aggressive. Carnival Gaming has finally switched back to their aggressive playstyle too, and it has given them a big boost. And it's not just about Carnival Gaming. Even if we talk about Godlike, yes, it's not a humongous success, but those small steps, the baby steps, they are trying to take it, because I still remember yesterday on the first map of Erangel,
Hands down, yeah.
they went in aggressive to try and pick off the global esports player, and they took down Slug, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, they definitely did. And later on, they were also there in the top too. So
Yes.
for Godlike, it was quite a great start. But then later on, moving forward, we knew Godlike was not able to do that great in the upcoming games. But another team that we need to focus on has to be Team Forever. It is another one of those teams that has not been able to perform that consistently well, and something needs to be figured out. We did see Always returning back in the lineup, but we're still, for some reason, Team Forever's old form, the old glory, is lost.
At this point, I just feel it's probably because there are two IGLs in the team playing, Ash as well as Oasis. Now, yes, Mogo has shown that two IGLs can play, but the situation is Destro is also a pretty good fragger in those situations. If we talk about Ash and Oasis, yes, we know that Oasis has got that amazing potential. He has been fragging a bit. Ash can do that too, but it just feels that the time that this team has spent together, it's just not been enough to gel up properly, and that's why they're facing some struggles.
I mean, speaking of two IGLs, yesterday we also saw Robin and Destro playing together, right, in Mogo Esports. So yeah, it is understandable when you've got two masterminds playing in one single lineup, there can be a bit of a mental clash, and that's something that you need to avoid. I mean, looking at the overall stats of the teams, you've got Always playing 7 matches so far in the entire BGMS Season 3, and he's only acquired one single finish. So this is the major problem. When you've got two IGLs playing, you really do lack on that firepower, and that's something that Team Forever needs at this point.
And it's not just about him. Even if you look at Omega 2, 17 matches and 17 finishes. That's one finish per map. That's also not mind-blowing, because we are having players like Aquanox, we're having players like Ninja Boy, like Ronnie for Raikou Soul, and they all still eventually get that one game or at least 2 games where they're fragging 5 frags or maybe 6, maybe 7.
Yeah, but that's where you need to see teams like Team Forever to go aggressive off the rip, right, in the power play. Try and take the advantage of the double point system that you can accumulate in the power play itself, but Team Forever isn't doing so.
That's the big point about that, because as you mentioned, this team has got potential too. Even yesterday we saw them win the fight against the members of Raikou Soul themselves when Soul was going in for that chase. And we've constantly seen the last stands coming in from this team, trying to get some good third-party timings as well. But it just feels that the only time they went aggressive is basically when Orangutan have dropped onto their drop locations.
I mean, for Team Forever, sometimes they're really good, really methodical inside of the games. Sometimes they end up choking up some of the fights that they're not supposed to choke in the first place. So it's always a double-edged sword. You never know. There's never that consistent factor when it comes to Team Forever. For sometimes they will just come out on top in a reigning fashion. Sometimes we don't even know what goes on with Team Forever, that they do not get any sort of limelight upon themselves. But this is where they need to figure something out. As I mentioned, you've only got a few days before the top 4 teams from the overall standings, they directly ship on to the grand finals.
And the whole point about the entire playoff situation for the teams is, I think so that there are quite a lot of people who are still thinking that it's absolutely fine. We can play in these league week, and then we'll probably go to the playoffs, we'll be able to qualify. You do not have a lot of matches in the playoffs itself. They're going to be pretty less, and if you fumble on 1 or 2, that basically means half of your time is already gone. So I really feel that a lot of these teams need to step up right now. This is the moment where you can try to bounce in that top 4.
That's a really great point that you brought up, right? Stepping up is definitely necessary, because yesterday even OneBlade, they hunted down a bounty off the rip.
Yes.
And that's why they got 18 points at the start of the match. And then later on, OneBlade, they got hunted down with third party. It's complete fine though. I mean, still you've got 18 points to start the game off and to start the day off. That's going to give you such a big mental edge.
Absolutely. And again, some of the players that give a lot of mental edge to their own team is obviously the most wicked players. And we've talked about most of them. And the only few teams that are missing out here is, of course, one of the teams that we mentioned, Team Forever. We're not seeing any one of their players frag out just like that. And I think so even Aquanox as well, he's probably out of this top 10 list too. That's maybe one of the reasons why Entity is also out of the entire top 10 leaderboard.
I mean, as I mentioned, Entity hasn't been taking a lot of fights recently. They're not going too aggressive inside of the playing field, and something needs to be figured out. Because if they stop taking the fights, we know one thing for sure, and that is that Entity won't be able to accumulate the constant points. You need to decide one play style. You either try to play super passive, or either you try to go super aggressive in the game. Because that's the only way you can find yourself that consistent point. If one game you try to go aggressive, the second game you try to play passive, that's going to bring in that inconsistency, and that's something that's happening with the players of Entity right now.
Yeah, a lot of times we see teams getting a bit more confused as well as to what kind of rotation they need to go. But I think so today is going to be the day we're going to see a few changes from them.
Changes. But you know what? Maybe those changes will be witnessed after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Ghanaian Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Ghanaian Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Ghanaian Men.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings. Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Ghanaian Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Ghanaian Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Ghanaian Men.
What's up, everyone? Come on in.
I got 100 ways that I could make you look. You cannot read me, I ain't no page in a book. But there's 100 ways that I could make you look.
Wow.
Make you make you look.
Wow.
Look, make you look.
All it takes is one single moment to turn the day into a legendary day, and yesterday was one of those. But the day started off on the map of Erangel, where OneBlade started things off by taking a team like God's Reen when it comes to the bounty system. They claimed the bounty too, extra 10 points accumulated. OneBlade, after having a fantastic day, that's just not where things ended. They kept on moving forward, they tried to take a few more fights, but then later on they met their end in a third party.
Indeed. It seemed that OneBlade just decided to change their gears and then move forward. Now, we did not normally see the Pochenki drop clash, but even after that, we saw a very awkward zone forming in over towards the Ferry Pier Bridge, and where Godlike did not even decide to take any fight and only were witnessing the action that went on between OG and Carnival Gaming.
Hot knife through butter. That's what CG did to OG. They did not even stand a chance. Mogo Esports facing off against a team that had a bounty on top of their name, and that was Reckoning Esports, and they claimed that bounty with quite a lot of struggles. In the final few moments, they went up against Godlike, which did not really have a man number to stand against them, but they still got the chicken dinner and moved on forward. After Godlike getting shut down, that was not the legendary moment I'm speaking of. This is the one that I'm talking about. Carnival Gaming Neo shutting down 3 players with just a pistol of Team Z, and the last man gets wrapped up in a sheet with a shotgun.
But that was not the only thing that basically twisted our minds. It was also the fact that Aiku's soul got demolished by Team Forever, and then Orangutan as well. Not even hunting down, just waiting for Team Tamilas to fall into the trap, into their jungle, only to grab that bounty.
Team Tamilas, after getting decimated by OG, they were not in that good of a stance, but moving forward towards the final few moments where Raven Esports, they faced off against the gods themselves, and the gods were demolished.
Welcome folks to the Android Arena as we start off day 3 of Domination Week here at the Android BGMS Season 3 powered by Garnier Men. सबसे पहले, how you doing? Because इस arena में I thought मैं ये बोल पाऊंगा that ये तूफान के पहले की खामोशी है, but जहाँ पे हम हैं वहाँ actual तूफान आया हुआ है. It's raining pretty badly, but it's also been raining points for a lot of teams. And on that note, इन 20 टीमों के बात करने से पहले हमारे साथ a brand new caster who has just been the latest addition to our team. It's Ravan. आपने इसकी आवाज़ जो है वो सुनी है. Everybody calls you Ravan.
Yes.
So it's good to have you. But भाई, माँ बाप ने नाम क्या रखा था before it became Ravan?
देखिए, मेरा नाम तो विपुल कुमार है और कोई जानता नहीं है. मुझे लगता है कि आज पहली बार सब जानेंगे कि मेरा नाम एक्चुअल में विपुल कुमार है.
Let's just stick to Ravan instead of Vipul Kumar. Okay, Ravan, listen. आज day 3 है.
Yes.
Domination week का. और हम जानते हैं कि 5 दिन बचे हुए हैं. इन 5 दिनों के एंड में, अंत में, we know that 4 teams directly qualify कर जाएंगी for the finals. 16 टीमों को playoffs में खेलना होगा to make it to the finals. The big question is, as we speak, इस points table पे you got Reckoning, you got God's Reign, you got Raven, and you got Team Tamilas. क्या ये वैसा ही रहने वाला? Are these teams going to be the 4 in pole position to qualify for the finals?
देखिए, अभी बोलना बहुत जल्दी होगा क्योंकि हमने देखा है कि जैसे जैसे मैचेस जा रहे हैं, हर मैच के बाद टॉप 4 में चेंजेस हमें देखने को मिल रहे हैं. हालांकि कुछ टीमें हैं जो कि कंसिस्टेंट है अभी तक. कब तक रहेंगे वो एक सवाल जरूर है.
All right, listen. The boy works out. Clearly, he's got the physique. He's looking really dapper. What about the teams जो number 5th spot से लेके number 10th spot तक हैं? Because think of it, right? I don't know the order, लेकिन मैं फिर भी उन 6 टीमों के नाम बताना चाहूँगा. There's Carpe Diem, there's Revenant, there is Orangutan, there's IQ Soul, there is Vasista.
Yes.
Right? There is one more team, Orangutan.
Orangutan.
ये 6 teams जो हैं bro, I'm sure ये भी चाहते हैं कि इन top 4 spots में उनका नाम हो, वो जाएं finals में. इनके अंदर क्या वो fight दिखने वाली है अब as we inch closer to the end of the week?
देखिए, आपने 2 टीमों का नाम लिया, वसिस्ता ई स्पोर्ट्स और कार्पे डीएम. मैं बस याद दिलाना चाहूँगा आपको कि कार्पे डीएम वो टीम है जिन्होंने स्टार्टिंग में इतने फिनिशर निकाले थे कि बाकी सारी टीमों को यहाँ पे हैरान कर दिया था. और उसके बाद वसिस्ता ई स्पोर्ट्स शुरुआत बेहतर था, अंत उतना अभी तक बेहतर हुआ नहीं है. लेकिन मैं मान के चल रहा हूँ कि जब तक वो मैच का काउंट 0 ना हो जाए तब तक टॉप 4 हम गेस नहीं कर सकते. और इस 5वें स्थान से 10वें स्थान पे कौन सी वो टीम रहेगी जो कि कम बैक कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि बाउंटी, पावर प्ले, बहुत कुछ देखने को मिलने वाला है.
Is this your first season?
No.
Okay, it's not his first season, but there is one moment which will always be credited to him, and वो था वो clutch fight, Neo,
Yes.
Team Z. क्योंकि हम बात कर रहे हैं इन सारे नामों की, so let's just call Neo from Carnival Gaming and let's call Syed from Team Z.
जी हाँ, दोनों ही प्लेयर्स को
आ
हम
जाओ
बुलाएंगे
भाई।
यहाँ पे, आ जाओ गाइस, आ जाओ।
Sending you an invitation. Neo से already हमारी बात हो चुकी है because we were there even during that standout player interview. And Syed, good to have you, brother. हाँ जी.
सर सैयद, मैं आपसे बहुत अच्छा सवाल पूछने वाला हूँ। कल स्काउट का बर्थडे था, गिफ्ट आपको देना चाहिए था लेकिन गिफ्ट इन्होंने दिया। तो मैं जानना चाहूँगा कि उस टाइम क्या चल रहा था, क्योंकि हमने सब चीज़ें ऊपर से देखी, अंदर में क्या चला जो चीज़ें खराब हुई?
अंदर में तो हमें तो लाइक कुछ आइडिया था नहीं कि एक टीम आएगी, बट टीम आ गई, हमें एक फ्री किल्स मिल गए थे तीनों, फिर सॉरी नो विंस बट फ्री किल्स थे, 3 फ्री किल्स मिल गए। तो हम लोग लाइक पूरे वो हो गए कि हाँ चलो भाई अब ये लास्ट किल का भी मिल जाएगा। तो हम जो जोश में पुश कर दिए सोलो, वही गलती होगी। फिर भाई ने उल्टा गिफ्ट दे दिया स्कॉट भाई को बर्थडे के दिन, जो ही खतरनाक था।
बहुत अच्छा गिफ्ट दिया, मुझे लगता है कि आप बहुत समय तक आप भी याद रखोगे एंड स्काउट भी याद रखेंगे।
सॉरी कितना खूबसूरत शब्द है, सब कुछ बोल दो, एक सॉरी जो है इट सॉफ्टन्स द ब्लो। यू लिसन, जो टीम जी के फैंस हैं दे नो द डिफरेंस बिटवीन होगा एंड गोहान, राइट? कार्निवल गेमिंग की जो अभी तक कश्ती रही है वो थोड़ी डगमगाई है, समटाइम्स यू गॉटन आउट ऑफ ट्रबल। हेक्टर एंड ओमेगा, जब टीम अच्छा नहीं करती है तो ओमेगा की चांट्स जो हैं वो ज़्यादा सुनाई देती हैं। वेयर आर यू ऑन दैट?
मतलब मेरे लिए तो दोनों आईजेल बराबर ही है, बट आई प्रेफर हेक्टर।
Alright, listen, Scout is also arrived here, so Scout को भी बुला लेते हैं। First up, इधर आ जाओ। Belated happy birthday, brother.
हाय।
क्या किया?
कुछ नहीं, बस टूर्नामेंट चल रहा था, कुछ पार्टी वार्टी नहीं करिए, छोटा मोटा केक काट लिया था सबके साथ, और कुछ नहीं।
बहुत सारी विशेस मिली।
यस।
Alright, Scout, हम बात कर रहे थे अभी सैयद से, एंड तुम्हारी टीम जो है इट्स इन दैट वियर्ड स्पॉट, राइट? नंबर 5 से लेकर नंबर 10 के बीच में। हम जब डेस्ट्रो से बात कर रहे थे, ही सेड यू नो व्हाट, वी डोंट वांट टू क्वालिफाई डायरेक्टली फॉर द फाइनल्स, क्योंकि हम चाहते हैं कि हमारी टीम को उतना वो गेम टाइम मिले ताकि जो भी मसले हैं उसको हम अच्छी तरीके से आयरन आउट कर सकें। लेट्स जस्ट डू अवे विद द रिंकल्स। वेयर आर यू ऑन दैट?
यार एक तरह से डेस्ट्रो की बात भी सही है कि ज़्यादा गेम टाइम मिलेगा, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली मैं वैसा नहीं चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि ये एक ऐसा स्पॉट जहाँ पे कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डअप होता है टीम का। हम लोग उस स्पॉट में जहाँ पे हम लोग फाइट को कन्वर्ट नहीं कर पा रहे, जो फैक्ट है, वी आर गेटिंग द जोन, वी आर नॉट एबल टू कन्वर्ट द फाइट्स, जो हम लोग को बहुत ज़्यादा हैम्पर करेगा अगर हम लोग फाइनल्स जाते हैं, विच वी वांट टू गो। सो ये जो टाइम है हम इसमें ट्राई कर रहे हैं कि जितना मैक्सिमम पोटेंशियल हम लोग यूज़ कर पाए हमारी टीम को रेडी करने के लिए फाइनल्स के लिए।
देखिए स्काउट, मुझे लगता है कि बहुत समय से, खास करके आप दोनों साथ में, बहुत सारे मैचेस आप साथ में खेल रहे हो, फ़ैन ने आपको दूसरा मौका भी दिया, बट मैं एक्चुअल में जानना चाहूँगा कहाँ पे चीज़ें ख़राब हो रही है कि बाकी सब टीमों की तरफ से हम वो कमबैक देख रहे हैं। एक सनहॉक मुझे याद है जो चिकन डिनर आपका है, क्योंकि सर्कल का बहुत एडवांटेज मिला था, बट उसके बाद से वो स्काउट ओपी को सब मिस कर रहा है।
यार मेरे को मिस करे ना करे वो अलग चीज़ है, बट आई थिंक हम लोग को बहुत बार हम लोग को जोन्स मिला था। आई थिंक 2 दिन पहले हमें मिरामार में मिला था, जहाँ पे हम लोग अपना कुछ पिन कर दिए थे। कल सेकंड एंगल में मिला था, फर्स्ट एंगल में मिला था हम लोग को, जो चिकन कन्वर्ट हो सकता था। तो जैसे मैंने पहले बोला कि हम फाइट्स कन्वर्ट नहीं कर पा रहे, वो हम लोग का सबसे मेजर ड्रॉबैक पुल कर रहा है, तो उसको हम फिक्स करने का ट्राई कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि अभी ये इंडिविजुअल गेम है नहीं, एट द एंड ऑफ द डे इट्स मोर ऑफ अ टीम गेम। सो एंड जोन्स आई थिंक हर एथलीट को पता है कि हम चारों अगर जिंदा रहते हैं, 4 प्लेयर अगर ऑन ग्राउंड रहते हैं और एज ए टीम वर्क करते हैं, तो चिकन कन्वर्ट करती है। तो बस अभी फोकस वही है कि वो हम लोग को कन्वर्जन रेट को इम्प्रूव कैसे करें।
ओके,
कार्निवल और टीम जी के उस शोडाउन में इसने निकाला वो क्लच मूवमेंट विच विल बी इन द हिस्ट्री बुक्स फॉर एवर। लेकिन हमारे लड़कों का क्या कहना है, एंड ऑल्सो आर दे गोइंग टू सिंग हैप्पी बर्थडे फॉर स्काउट? लेट्स फाइंड आउट बाय गोइंग बैक टू द स्टूडियो।
Yeah, I mean, we already wished him happy birthday yesterday, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah, now, I mean, let's focus on what's going to be the storyline for the future because, yeah, for Team Z, I'm not sure how they're going to deal with that mental setback because this is one of those moments where a team really starts to second-guess themselves. They really start to build up that second doubt, and hopefully that's not going to be the case with Team Z.
I really hope so because again there were some embers that were being shown by Scout, but even after that Team Z's performance dip has affected them. While on the other side, if you're looking at Carnival Gaming, specifically Neo, the way this man stepped up yesterday, it was massive. Not just in
Big.
Game 2, but also in Game 1. If we remember, he was the MVP.
I mean, he was the only player standing in the game too, right? And
yes.
Then too, he managed to get 8 points for his team by wiping out Team Z with just a pistol, and then later on the last man was wrapped up with a shotgun right here. This is the highlight that I'm speaking of. A legendary moment indeed.
The whole point about that entire engagement was not just the fact that he had a pistol, but also the fact that he had absolutely no healings. So he wrapped around that monster truck, got some important loot, got some bandages, and then went back, constantly jiggling his positions to make sure that the enemy, since he's peeking through different windows, does not get 1 pixel off the place. And he healed himself a bit and then went in for that shot. Absolutely mind-blowing. And even Scout was laughing after that.
I mean, that's what I'm exactly mentioning too, right? I mean, knowing exactly what you need to do in such a panic situation, and still the man did not panic at all. He kept his cool. He knew exactly what to do. Every single call he made for himself was perfect, and that's why Neo was the one to come out on top in that entire duel. Now, moving forward towards Team Z's conversation, as I mentioned, this is one of those stances, this is one of those moments where a team really starts to doubt themselves and their own potential, and hopefully that's not going to be the case with Team Z. And Scout mentioned this perfectly. They're not able to convert those team fights. The 4-4 fights are being lost by Team Z, and that's a major issue.
True. I mean, there are a lot of teams that are facing a lot of problems out there. Could be Entity, Team Z as well. But yeah, I really want to see them change a few things and basically perform amazingly.
Because CG, they have changed a few things and they're now doing really good. But it's now time for us to toss to a short break. Before we do so, just to let you guys know, the players are playing on Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, where they're having an ultra smooth experience. Let's toss to a short break. We'll be right back.
Red Bull gives you wings. Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen?
Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips. Red Bull gives you wings.
そんな場所だ。全部壊してみっか。俺は塔のてっぺんに登るんだ。
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna lead. Now you hear me roll like raw in my beastly mode now. Wow.
Wicked unleashed.
That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider. Unleash your wicked. Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
What's up, everyone? Come on in.
I got 100 ways that I could make you look. You cannot read me, I ain't no page in a book. But there's 100 ways that I could make you look.
Wow.
Make you look. Make you look.
Wow.
Look, make you look.
TVS Raider is our mobility partner. It's not just all about looks. There's a Smart Connect version with 99 connected features. And guess what? It apparently comes with a 5-inch TFT screen. Now, isn't that super wicked? But we're just moments away from stepping inside of the first game of the day, where things are already looking quite tight. After witnessing such a legendary moment yesterday, there's definitely going to be some second guesses in the minds of few of these teams, but some are here to still make that impact.
Here's the thing, you know, as you've talked about the impact, the team who's been impacted by that one before is not actually playing in this one map of Miramar. It's Team Z and the Group A is not here, so not even Raven, Carnival and 8-Bit. That's one bounty team out already. But fun fact, there's Entity right now that will play in this one because it's Group E, Revenant, Global Esports, Entity, Mogo. All of them will be available. So I'm really excited to see as to how Entity will perform, and probably, since their Miramar is good, we might see some of that, you know, game change or maybe the pace change. Maybe we've seen them grab a couple of chicken dinners on this map itself.
I mean, Miramar has always been the main strong suit for Somraj, and a while ago we also saw the stats on the screen.
Yes.
And even the stats say the same thing. God's Reen, a team that is supposed to be the bounty hunters. Yesterday, they themselves got hunted down by one blade, but now God's Reen in here with vengeance on their mind, with revenge on their mind, especially stepping forward to the second game of the day, which will be played on the map of Sanhok, and that will be another spicy map. But this Miramar, I'm anticipating it to be a little bit more tactical compared to all the Miramars that we've witnessed until now.
Probably. Because again, now since we are in the domination week, it's going to be even more crucial for teams to grab onto those points, because the cushion that the top 4 are developing, you can't really try and contest the first and the second place at this point. The thing that you've got to focus on is that third and fourth position, which is going to be contested by at least 10 to 12 teams. So that's also a pretty crucial part of as to how you're going to start things off.
My question's still going to be this. Are we going to see Destro and Robin play in the same lineup or not? Two Igils, two Masterminds, two big minds colliding against each other. Sometimes it can cook up a big master plan, or sometimes it can be a big fail. For Mogo Esports, it's been both ways. The first game, they secured the chicken dinner, but then the second game, Mogo Esports, they completely collapsed. And that's where the real story lies. The only reason why Mogo Esports secured the first chicken dinner is because the zone popped up in their home turf, and that's Sosnovka military base. But if the zone shifts away to the northern side, that's when the real struggles are starting to pop up for these boys. As the first game loads up on the screen, as the big bird hits the skies, the plane flight pad starts all the way from truck stop towards La Cabrera. Now, if you want to move in towards Valle del Mar, Montenuevo, it's going to be a bit of a tough stretch, but it's not impossible. You can drop on the pit stop and then move towards your main drop location.
Indeed, because Reckoning is a team that likes to drop all the way down south towards Patona, so we might possibly see them going in for those pit stops too. But for most of these teams, specifically Mogo, since they like to drop over towards Impala, I don't think so it's going to be a big problem. I want to see where Soul is going to take that drop, because IQ Soul sometimes the true drop in Puerto Paraiso, while also we have seen certain situations where they tend to change all those drops. Los Leones as well should be in contention, but since 8-Bit is not there, I don't think so Revenant's going to be facing a lot of problem here.
For IQ Soul, their main drop location has always been La Cabrera. That's where they will go. I don't think so we're going to see any switch-ups regarding that, considering IQ Soul's already been struggling. And I'm pretty sure it is one of those teams that would not want to step outside of the comfort zone, especially when they're making some of the mistakes that you're not supposed to. Manya was back a few days back, and still, we just saw Manya pulling off that one single chicken dinner. After that, we haven't seen that proper IQ Soul that we all wanted to see. I mean, this plane fly path, yes, but are we really seeing any drop collisions? It's just Revenant Esports and Mogo Esports dropping next to each other, but I'm pretty sure the fight's not going to happen.
Yeah, because again, it's Revenant who will try not to take those early fights. They're always going for the tactical approach, and since we were discussing about that itself, Revenant is also a team that quite a lot of those times miss out on certain situations. But hold on a second, seems like we already have a drop collision, and what better than Global Esports, because the fight did not start, it ended.
Now that's what you call you blink it, you miss it moment. The fight started, but we all just saw the end. Global Esports, that's what happens when you keep butter in front of a hot knife. It's going to slice straight through it, and Vasista Esports did not even stand a chance. It is one of those teams for a while of the league stage. They were at the top. They had the first spot in their hands, but now they're nowhere to be seen around that area.
And this is one of the big reasons, as we've been talking about, Vashishta Esports, the inconsistency is hitting this team. And it's been hitting pretty hard. On the other side of the spectrum though, WSB, seems like they're kind of starting things off on a pretty solid note. Arman able to take down Anonymous from One Blade, so the pace that we saw One Blade change yesterday, they want to try to do the same, but WSB this time answering back pretty well.
I mean, specifically for WSB, it is another one of those teams that is super desperate right next to Team X-Spark. And we've also got a bit of a news for you guys. Shadow 7 is not playing in the first game for Team X-Spark. They're just going to step in as a 3-man squad. So that will be a rough starting for Team X-Spark, that's for sure. But we know what Team X-Spark is capable of. So far in this Season 3, they haven't been able to find themselves that proper footing. But soon enough, maybe they will do so. But what am I watching? God's Reed! Such a heroic entry inside of Montenegro Evo. And they're here to make a statement against WSB. And WSB, they don't even stand a chance inside of the fight. God's Reed, they're just shredding through the flesh of WSB. They're being ripped apart. Shock gets up close and personal, and Venom finds the perfect bump. And just like that, they're on the verge of being completely eliminated from this game. The hopes and dreams have been stolen away, and just like that, God's Reed, the Hunters, they're back in the game.
What did I just witness? Venom, that was nasty, but God's Reed. This is one of those anime moments where you're just flying high in that vehicle. I just feel that they probably read it from the finish feed and they just decided, you know what, let's catch on to the players and do whatever they're doing. That vehicle is stuck. That's not moving. But wait a second. Global Esports seems to be like picking on just teams left, right, and center. Catch one more player as well from One Blade.
They're not done just yet. Global Esports out on a hunt. They're like, yeah, we're not going to go for the loot. Instead, we're going to let the opponents loot for us, and then we'll hunt them down. I like that game style. Global Esports off the rip on the aggressive side of things. They do not care if they're close to that top 4, if they can't have the bounty on top of their head. Instead, they're just over here going super aggressive in the map. Yesterday, they were pissed because at the end of the day, their top 4 spot was stolen away from them.
And this time around, they've already started to enter in the top 4 at 3rd place just thanks to those 10 points. Obviously, it's going to change maybe. We'll have to see. But Aiku Soul, all the players in that exact same vehicle, not a big fan of it. But if they're going to make it work, do some things like what God's Rain did, you may never know.
Oh my god, Apollo.
Yeah.
The man was trying his best to shank someone to death, but it just did not work out, and then God's Rain. I mean, WSB did not even stand a chance. This is one of those moments, as I mentioned, where you just say, God's Rain are just better. Straight up better in that fight. Such a heroic entry inside of the city of Montenegro, striking down the players of WSB with ease. You can't even say a lot. 8 free points for God's Rain, that's all I can say.
That was literally with ease, to be honest. Can't even change that. Because yeah, they just were chasing them down. The monster truck is not that fast in front of that vehicle. They just seem like flawless. And even Aiku Soul right now, since we're on the topic of that, are trying to just move around as a hunting party in just one vehicle. Either they're going to destroy whoever they see, or they're going to get destroyed in a second. There's no in between after that. There's no prolonging that fight.
But yeah, I mean, off the rip, you've seen 2 powerhouses take an exit from the game with Sister Esports and WSB. And Reckoning Esports lost out on their individual player. One Blade lost out on 2 players. So yeah, a few individual blows here and there, but nothing too concerning just yet. Team Tamiles up in the game with all the 4 players left to life. Revenue Esports is right underneath them. And both these teams, they know they're crossing lines. They know that they would not want to cross the line. If they do so, it will be a drop collision.
True.
So it's like a territory that's being divided between these 2 teams.
But if you're Revenant Esports, I'd suggest them to actually look for the fight. Because it's Team Tamilas.
Yeah, but that too, fighting inside of an urban territory is something that I would not recommend because there's always a big question mark where the opponent is positioned.
True.
You would never have a proper knowing of every single player's position.
That's a big thing. The risk is bigger than the reward. I wanted to see where the rest of the One Blade players were, and we can see that they're finally down there in Picardo.
But look what's happening. Reckoning Esports towards La Cabrera, right next to the players of Aiku Soul. Now, this is what you call a proper hunt, too.
True. They did lose out on one of their players, so maybe just want to equalize the odds by trying to take down the members of Aiku Seoul. And with the way how they have been fighting, it has seemed that it's not looking that clean. And you mentioned about both of these teams together. Seems like they've already figured out where Joker was and also completed the pick onto him. So
rough.
Down to a 3v3 now.
Aiku Seoul, quite a rough outing. Now it's taken down to a 3v3, as you mentioned. Immortal out. At least they've still got Hunters left alive. He's one of those game-changing players that you really do need to be alive in the final few moments. Reckoning Esports getting ripped off piece by piece in this fight wouldn't be a good ending. And that's why now the players are taking much more defensive stance, while Aiku Seoul on the run outside of La Coqueria. They do not want to stay over here, but then there's also Gravity towards Oasis. So Gravity can actually be someone that can cut off the rotation, or also can be the backstabber for Knuckle.
Yeah, that fight is going to be crucial and will possibly be the determining factor for the victor of that. But again, if this engagement goes on for long, you've got Carpe Diem close by as well. Godlike, you know, this team also likes to rotate. It's been looking for the fights early on since yesterday. But oh my god, look at the big rotation by Mr. IGL. He's been just trying to...
Oh my god, OG, there's no way.
I don't think so they know about him.
Drawing through the enemy territory.
Huh?
They know where one blade is positioned. That's why now they're going to start to clear room by room. And this is where one blade, this can just be their breaking point in the fight. Got no OP. The man is not even moving a single muscle, just holding the door line. He's got his hands on the DBS2. It is a game-changing weapon. Or maybe in this scenario, you can say a fight-changing weapon. OG slowly and steadily moving towards that exact drop location where Kana is positioned. And Kana towards that balcony. He's probably going to try to find the first knockout, instantly back away, drop down, try and position somewhere else. Two almost found, but Kana repeats the same angle, which is being pre-fired over and over again, and he gets taken down.
Big mistake. Or you could say it could have been a great play had he been able to find a knock on to Viron. But now he can't do anything. Will be finished off. And it's all down to just one last player of one blade remaining. Losing 3 different members to 3 different teams. OG with an impeccable performance. Yes, it did seem a bit risky for a second, but it's absolutely fine. Risk worth taken. This is an obnoxiously slow play coming in from most of these teams, given the fact how we see a lot of teams try to prioritize. But oh my god, you're out in the open, Phantom.
Oh no, X-Park now up against the God's Ring.
Okay.
And keep this thing in mind, the God's Ring, they've got a bounty on top of their head. Off the rip, this started things off in quite a great note. But Team X-Park, they're making sure that even God's Ring, they will start to collapse against them. Now it's a 2-on-2 fight. God's Ring did lose out on 2 players a while ago. Team X-Park, you got to give it to them in this fight. All the players positioned quite nicely. They're making sure that the opponents, they will pay for this push. Nice shots taken from Sarang. He knows there's another man in the front lines, but he hasn't went for the peak just yet. Altu around the corner. Entity Gaming looking to third party this fight because they know gods are being hunted. This is a bounty maybe worth claiming, but already it's unclaimable. Entity Gaming with this third party, they might be able to shut down Ninja Jod or even Altu, and that's what happens. Altu gets strike down. Entity with the third party will of course have the man advantage in this entire scenario. Before Team X-Park, it's the worst possible outcome because they were almost on the verge of winning this fight.
30 seconds remaining, not even 30, 25 now left. And Team X-Park, don't forget they're playing with just 3 men, out of which Spray God has been pulled out. So it's down to just Ninja remaining as well as Sarang. Nades being tossed, traded, left, right, back and forth. Just chipping apart the players. Nothing apart from that. Ninja just wants to run away to reposition. But he'll be taken down at such a long range with that shotgun.
I told you, it's the worst possible scenario for Team X-Park that can pop up. And they have been eliminated from the game completely. For God's Ring, it's also quite a good news considering their bounty cannot be claimed anymore, so they can be taken down happily if they want.
Yep.
So yeah, it's all good in the hood for the boys. God's Ring, they've already started things off with 10 points in the belt. So if they get taken down, it's not going to be that big of a setback.
I was about to mention that. They already have 170 points over that. They've got 10 points in this game. So they're going to be pretty happy about that, that their bounty cannot be claimed. Now there's only one team remaining which has got a bounty on its head, and that's going to be Team Tamilas.
And Team Tamilas is an interesting prospect. They're not going to go for the early game fights. IQ Soul at the top. They are spotting out a few teams in the far fray. Shots were taken, positions noticed. But nothing can be done just yet. And I think the shots they were taken against was Godlike.
Yep.
Godlike is on the rotate. And I'm pretty sure Godlike is one of those teams that would not want anything to be done in this fight, but they're still moving through La Cabrera. Even they want to hunt down the players of IQ Soul, maybe? But it's quite a late rotate, so Godlike, they probably know that IQ Soul, they have moved out of this area. But IQ Soul can definitely try and set up a trap against Godlike if they want. These can be some points that can be claimed because Godlike is moving through an unknown patch.
I think so. In this situation, they're just going in for their late rotations to make sure that there's no one coming in from behind them. Because that's probably what they did last time when they were in the map of Erangel. Though, yes, this is Miramar, it's a different map, and also it's a different day. I guess it's just the fact that the strategy seems to be almost the same. And it's going to be another couple of dead phase zones coming right up for the next few minutes because the power play is over. Only Team Tamilas has the bounty over their head that can be claimed. Apart from that, a lot of teams playing just a bit off center. The third parties are going to be impeccable. No way for you to dodge them. And look at where Reckoning is. Just enjoying their time, confirming that there's no other team who's going to drop down south from the places that they are playing at.
NTD right now towards the smack center, towards that San Martin area. They're playing with the high ground with the advantage over San Martin. God's Reen's one last member still alive. The only reason why he's still alive is because he knows that the bounty is unclaimable now anyway, so you might as well try and squeeze as many points as possible, or else he could have pulled out a Ninja Boy if he wanted to.
Or a Neo, but with better weaponry.
A Ninja Boy is much more understandable.
Agreed.
And easily doable. All you need is one Molotov or a nade. But yeah, Mogo Esports, one of those teams that does not like to play aggressive at all. Instead, they've always been playing quite passive, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. Because this is one of those metas in BGMS Season 3 where you need to prioritize aggression, where you need to prioritize the eliminations.
Yes.
And the only way you can do so is by moving fearlessly, just like our Philips One Blade.
They definitely do need that aggression, which you've been talking about. We've been saying that time after time. Mentioning it, that they just really need to try and take those fights, find those fights. In most of these situations, they are trying to breach into the circle, breach into the enemy defense lines, and that's something that they haven't really been finding a lot of success at. Wherein, whenever it comes down to them trying to defend, it seems that they've still been able to do that. Yeah, not cleanly, agreed, but at least they've managed to do that.
I mean, talk about a few moments that you want to relive, and Team X-Bar getting picked off by Entity, where they could have almost won the fight against the opponents that they were challenging before. They could have claimed the bounty as well. It could have went so well for Team X-Bar. Would have been the perfect day to start off.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it was ruined by Entity. But Global Esports, it is one of those teams that has started things off with a bang, and still they're alive with that bang in the game. 10 points and counting for the future. If they manage to secure the chicken dinner, that's even better. If they manage to take down a team like Team Tamilas, that's going to be another cherry point added to the top. And right now, speaking of Team Tamilas, they're on the right side near truck stop, right above Minas Generalis.
The thing about Global Esports is that they're probably playing with a 1-3 rotation. So if Arkland gets caught, he's going to be deleted. No way to get him revived whatsoever. And they also have Godlike close by. And as you mentioned, Team Tamilas too. But a team that I also want to focus on is going to be Team Forever. We have seen this team play pretty decent. We've been talking about it even in the pre-show segment as to how sometimes they do find that success, but quite a few times they're having the problems to try and reach in. What a circle shift. So it's a big problem for Team Forever. Orangutan, KSR7, the last man of one blade. They've all got to go in for that reposition.
All of that is fine, but how's OG gonna move in now? They're all the way down south. There's only 1 or 2 players inside of the zone. The rest players are still outside of that circle. To move inside of the safe zone, they would need to be the cleanup crew, and to start cleaning things up, they would need a hell lot of confidence.
Yes.
But all of that is fine. Entity right now is in a really good spot. Right over San Martin, they've got so much advantage. They've got the high ground to play with. The entire coverage over San Martin around that area too. They can keep their eyes pinned down. For Godlike, there's Team Forever slowly and steadily moving towards their area. Punk could have taken shots if he wanted to, but he's still keeping that trigger discipline. Omega is busy taking fights with someone else, while Reckoning Esports outside of the zone, tanking that damage from the blue.
I mean, I was hoping they would have had a lot of first aids, but it seems like Hyper has just got 1 remaining, and now it's going to be 0. So might as well be a good time to try and jump into the circle itself, because the northern part is fairly empty. A lot of those teams playing over towards the southern hemisphere of that circle, so they will get that confirmation too that there's absolutely no other team out around them. And they're the last ones to breach into the blue, into the safe zone.
Reckoning on the move. Yeah, fine, they can't be the last one to be in the zone, but probably soon enough there's going to be a lot of those fights that will pop up. So a few spaces will be cleared up. And speaking of clearing the space up, right now, Team Tamilas, they can definitely engage in a fight against either the players of Global Esports or Godlike. But the only reason why they're not doing so is because they've got a bounty on top of their head. So they're the one in the disadvantage. But for Global Esports, this is exactly what they need. And speaking of Global Esports, they're in a big 2-2 split. 2 players separated out, while you've got 2 of the players right on top of Hacienda del Patron. Now, I'm not sure if this is a good strat or not, but if a team does pop up right in the center, just like Team Timilas, then it can be the big pinch that we all are looking out for.
That is indeed true, but again, it just seems that Carpedium up against the members of OG. It's going to be important, crucial. Aru already down now, finally. Kamla Boy firing in from that long range. KSR7 needs to survive. No shotgun in the hand. Yeah, he has actually. That's 12k.
I'm not a big fan of what KSR7 is holding, but he still comes out on top in that duel. How is this even possible? The man now turns around. He's going for a few more shots, but the pre-fire from the opponent, it's going to put the nail in the coffin. Veron gets the last man accumulated, but now Carpedium, they're here to take the advantage of that fight. A bit of damage was dished out against OG, but OG, they're almost on the verge of recovering. One man was lost out, which was Aru, so now the man advantage is in the hand of Carpedium. If they want, they can go for a slam, but still, it would not make sense considering Carpedium, they've got a really nice position over OG, and they can pin them down constantly.
Exactly my point. I was about to say the same thing where Carpedium, they might have read it in the finish feed too, that OG, they've lost a couple of members, only 2 remaining standing. But then you'd give up on such a good positioning, a high ground, possibility of rotating as well. There's no other team behind you. So they're just going to let it slide. Now finally Reckoning also taking their entry right from the North Pole. Will be moving in. Not a lot of vehicles remaining. They've already lost a couple of buggy tires. So just a monster truck. What a shift!
But all of that is fine. Look at Global Esports master plan coming into play. That 2-2 split now just comes into fruition. The 2 players inside of the zone, they were sort of like the insurance policy.
Yes.
If the zone does not pop in towards the right side, well, if it does move up north, then there is still Ninja Boy and his teammate holding that spot down of Hacienda del Patron. So whatsoever, Global Esports would have still had the control over the zone. But now, the 2 players of Global Esports, which were separated out, which was Ninja Boy and the other guy, they're now moving towards Arsalan.
As you mentioned, they'll be joining in, they'll be rendezvousing together into that one compound. Now, Team Forever, normally seeing how they would like to play, would try to take that fight against the members of GE to steal away that compound. Otherwise, they're going to be just out in the open, where Team Godlike would also try to run in. There's also going to be Reckoning coming in. Entity now for the position that they had.
Oh my god, this is the exact fight that was wanting to mention. Team Forever up against the players of Godlike, and Ash gets caught. I'm not sure what Ash was trying to do there, but he should have stayed pinned down in that same cover for at least a bit more time. Team Forever, Mafia is knocked out, will be down and dusted soon enough. But for Godlike, there was one casualty, but the man can be recovered soon. It's Z got knocked out up till now. If the man's not knocked out in the open, the revival will be there, and that's what exactly is happening. Z-God will be up on his feet soon.
The fight now I want to focus on is also going to be between the members of Carpedium and Team Tamilas, because Carpedium, if I'm not wrong, they managed to get a couple of picks now. Mr. Igel has been taken down by Max. Maxi finally tries to answer back, but Pukar catching Manti too. That just means it's only one man remaining, and Maxi has also been taken down. It seems like Carpedium, they've already claimed the bounty of Team Tamilas.
This is incredible.
That is big.
If that happens, then Carpedium, a nuclear game's on the way, I guess. Carpedium, they're getting third party too by another team that was around the corner.
Reckoning.
It's Reckoning Esports that they're going up against, and Reckoning Esports' bounty is unclaimable, considering one man was taken down off the rip. Reckoning Esports, Hunters and Wipers up close and personal. The last man is there too, but he's a little bit far away, separated from these two guys. But Hunters and Wipers, if they work in tandem, it's going to be really good. Reckoning Esports trying their best to at least find some sort of an opening against Carpedium, so that can be the go call, but they're not able to make it just yet. And there we go, Gravity finds the man slipping. Pukar gets knocked out. Carpedium, the worst nightmare now comes to the reality.
The point that I just wanted to mention as well, that Gravity would potentially play at an off angle to try and catch one. That is a very good molly.
My God,
Fierce. Floor is lava. Can't jump over there, can't go anywhere. Perfectly placed Molotov, and Fierce will be taken down.
Reckoning Esports is so good in their 4-4 fights, man. He just can't really find a lot of flaws in their play. And just look at this, a 3v4 converted with ease. They did not even struggle. That too against Carpedium, a team that was looking so promising in their 4-4 fights.
I mentioned as well that they normally face one casualty because they take some early fights during the power play. This time they had none. And even after that, being obliterated like that. The only reason why I feel is that because their fight against Team Tamilas, they lost a couple of players. But right now, it's Mogo who are trying to gatekeep the members of Godlike, trying to finish them off one after the other, as Admino is just going to drive his buggy away. Will try to survive, and it's Jonathan on the action.
Now, I'm not sure what Godlike is trying to pull off here, but this still seems pretty questionable to me. The players, they rotated all the way to the southern side to try and face off against Mogo Esports, get that high ground in their hands. It's understandable, but still, how are you going to contest? How are you going to take this fight against Mogo? That's my real question. Godlike is pinned in one corner. They've got all sort of disadvantage inside of this one single fight where Mogo Esports, their position is still unknown in this entire moment. This is a distraction by Admino, but he still gets knocked out. I'm not sure what the rest of the teammates are doing. Admino is knocked out. There's still no cover. Godlike, they're in shambles. They had no proper game plan before they made this rotation, and now look at the players slowly and steadily getting picked off. It's a systematic dismantle against them. For Mogo Esports, they're of course at the advantage from the start.
That's a big problem now. There's no way Godlike are going to survive. The entire smoke wall is definitely going to come there, but I don't think so if it's going to help them a long or a lot, to be very honest. We'll just have to focus on the other side as well at this point. Unless they pull out a maniac performance.
A 2-on-4, too much to expect in my opinion.
Yeah, the disadvantage is just too much.
I mean, you're going up against the defending champions. You cannot underestimate the boys. You've got
Oh my
Destro
God.
and Robin playing in one single map. So yeah, it will be a tough patch to deal with. Godlike already losing out on Jonathan. Now Z-God is there in the back lines, and I'm not sure what one single man can do. Jonathan's elimination might just be squeezed soon enough. The only thing that's blocking that to happen is the zone. And as now the zone moves away, Mogo Esports too, they will need to start taking decisions as soon as possible. And that's what they're doing. They take the decision to move inside of the safety lines. They have found themselves barely inching in, but where's the next zone going to pop up?
Oh my god.
It pops right on top of the players of Entity Gaming. They've got the advantage. They can slowly and steadily start to move inside of the zone.
I was about to say that we might possibly see Global Esports doing some shenanigans, but it just seems like they're facing a lot of problem, and now even Revenant being fired upon by the members of Mogo. They are outside the circle. They do have the high ground advantage, so that's one good thing, as Sensei has been brought down on his knees. There's also Reckoning on the other side. Every team is basically in the crosshair of one another. It will just depend on to who does the perfect third party and who finds the perfect opening.
Look at the shots taken. So Revenant Esports constantly peppering shots in the far fray. They're dealing a lot of damage to the lobby. But the position they've gotten, I'm not sure for how long they can sustain themselves in the same spot. Sensei's knocked out in the open, inside of the zone, and he's not going to be feeling too good. The rest of the teammates need to start making the rotation to that same area, but they're taking a lot of damage upon themselves while they try to pull that off. Blaze, he closes on up. He will get the revival maybe on the fallen player, but it's still too much to ask for.
It's Entity being fired upon from multiple directions too. Not the perfect place to be at. Godlike as well as God's Reign. Both the gods falling off of blue. Both the teams will be taking their exit. Mogo, this is like the perfect way for them because they're having the drone view, but it's not going to last for long because since now the blue is starting to move, you've also got to grab your vehicles and move inside the circle. Reckoning does the exact same thing. Using the smoke walls now in front of Entity, and Raiden's nade is absolutely perfect beginning.
Revenant Esports can try to play this one super smart. They can let the players of Entity push in tandem against their opponents and then go for a third party. Be the backstabbers, be the snakes in the fight. And that's what Revenant's trying to do. This is incredible for Revenant. I like the game plan. They're backstabbing the players of Entity. This is nice. Entity's now being fired at, not just from the front, even from the back by Revenant. And where can Entity go? Nowhere. They will need to try and take the fight against Revenant. They've got nowhere to go, as Aquanox is going to be the last remaining player. But do not forget what Aquanox has pulled off in the blast.
This could potentially be a Revenant chicken because look at the spread that they have, unless it's being spoiled by either Slug, Aquanox, or Wizjord. As they've knocked down Robin as well, he's going to be facing a lot of problems, and this drone view is just sublime.
Blaze taken down, Sensei still in the back, Aquanox is way too low, and the fight keeps on going. If Aquanox takes down Sensei too, this will be insane, and that's what happens. But now Mogo Esports slowly and steadily inching towards the player as Blaze gets shut down, and Revenant Esports, now this is not looking too good for them. OG to have been eliminated from the game. But now for Mogo Esports too, it's way too dicey. The survival's not looking that easy. Revenant Esports with the man advantage, they're pushing up against Justin, and Justin is way too low. One single pixel spotted, and Revenant Esports, they snatch that chicken dinner away.
Finally, they're going to be super happy. Even Sensei as well, because this was not the circle forming on them. There was still them moving in it, having the perfect opportunity, and the point that you mentioned. Entity versus Reckoning and Revenant's third party getting them a massive chicken dinner.
This chicken dinner was indeed quite tactical from Revenant, but things started off with such a big spark. We saw Global Esports wiping out Vasista in the first few seconds of the game. Before now, let's move on to the stage for a short interview.
Well, I've got a gift for Sensei क्योंकि Sensei इसके साथ थोड़ी practice कर रहा था. I think तूने अपने इस भाई please go ahead. ये moment है. All right, listen. Revenant picking up the first chicken dinner. Sensei तलवार तो बहुत अच्छी लग रही है, but जो तुमने मैच में करके दिखाया है, it seems like you're hitting the strides. अब वो momentum भी आ रहा है, साथ में वो थोड़ी बहुत जो चिंग्स थी उसको अब तुम दरकिनार कर रहे हो. हैप्पी विद द परफॉर्मेंस?
नहीं, ऑनेस्टली अभी उन्हें खुश नहीं. अभी हमें बहुत कुछ करना है और सिर्फ एक दो चिकन लेकर हम उतने खुश नहीं होंगे. भूखे हैं और चिकन लेंगे.
भाई ये जो भूख की बात की है, सबसे बड़ी जो भूख है जिसके लिए आपकी एक दावत जो है वो इंतज़ार कर रही है, इस 4 टीमें टॉप 4 में जा सकती हैं और वो फाइनल में डायरेक्ट क्वालिफाई कर सकती हैं. क्या नज़रें उस टॉप 4 स्पॉट पे?
जी हाँ, बिल्कुल है और उसके पीछे हमारी स्ट्रेटजी भी है. हम स्टार्टिंग में टॉप 4 भी नहीं आना चाहते. हम नहीं चाहते कि सारे टीम्स की नज़र हम पे रहे और हमें हंट करने आए. जाएंगे लेकिन लेट जाएंगे और तब जाएंगे जब कोई कुछ नहीं कर पाएगा.
ये तलवार ना आज पूरे दिन यहीं पे आसपास रही है, लेकिन इसको आके उठा के खेलने वाले कुछ ही लोग रहे हैं, तो हमें एक बहुत अग्रेसिव सेंसे दिख रहा है। ये सिर्फ ऑफ द मैप है या ऑन द मैप भी है?
नहीं, सिर्फ ऑन द मैप है, और जितने की व्यूअर्स है जो जानते हैं, मैं मतलब रियल लाइफ में बहुत फन बंदा हूँ और मतलब गेम में ही गुस्सा आता है मुझे।
Congratulations brother. Congratulations to Revenant who have picked up the chicken dinner. लेकिन अभी के लिए एक छोटा सा ब्रेक, जल्द वापस लौटेंगे।
सवाल मेरे से किए अनेक, जवाब मेरा बस होगा एक, ट्रॉफी बी रेवेनेंट।
Red Bull gives you wings. Another day, another road, and we go. A ride with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. On a ride we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
Red Bull gives you wings.
そんな場所だ。全部壊してみっか。俺は塔のてっぺんに登るぜ。ਆਪਣਾ ਵੀ ਦੱਸ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਕੁੜੀ ਸੱਚੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ
Wow.
ਨਾ ਵੀ ਦੱਸ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਕੁੜੀ ਸੱਚੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਜਗਦੀ ਰਕਾਨ ਚੰਨ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਜਿੰਨੀ
Circle to search. Only on Android.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
One thing is for sure, Revenant played that final moment with brilliance. They had a 2-2 split for themselves, and Sensei knows whichever team has the most control in the final few moments, they are out to win the entire game. And that's what happened. Revenant going for 2-2 split, waiting for a team like Entity to take a fight against the foes, and then they made a pinch scenario against Entity, where even Entity could not even stand a chance. But before we move on with the post-game segment, got a little bit of a sponsor call-out to make, and that's going to be Crunchyroll, which is the India's largest anime library with over 800 plus shows. And not just that, you can watch those shows in your preferred languages. Watch now for only 79 rupees per person. I mean, a man sitting right next to me knows the value of that entire call-out.
I always love whenever it's the Crunchyroll call out because I know I'm a big anime geek out there. But again, the man who had a big impact in the previous game was Flock. 5 finishes coming in already with over 50% team fight participation. Absolutely phenomenal. But again, another team that really did good was, of course, Team Entity 2. They ended up in the top 5 at least.
Hands down. I mean, Samraj is there as the best companion. You've got Flock once again as the finisher. For Revenue Esports, they like to go slow and methodical, and that's what they exactly did. As I mentioned, all it takes is the most amount of zone control in the final few moments, and Revenue Esports, considering they knew that they have preserved all the 4 players, you might as well try to go for the fights and try to go for the control, and that's what they did. Be the alpha in the final few moments. But I think Godlike as well tried to pull off something similar. They went for the northern rotation where they thought if they do get the highest pawn in their hand, then maybe things can be better, but they did not plan properly for the fight against Mogo.
Yeah, that's the whole point about it. They were just not ready for it. And even in the highlights though, we're going to see that early fight where God's Reign turned into the anime protagonist that we always talk about. Seems like they also have got the Crunchyroll subscription.
I mean, I wanted to see that come fly with me moment from God's Reign. The vehicle in the air, the players just taking shots underneath against WSP. That was indeed one hell of a moment.
I believe I can fly. That one. I know I'm not a big good singer, but again, some people with some good amount of spray, definitely from the members of Mogo, stopping out the entirety of Godlike, not letting them move forward. And yes, I guess the lack of, you could also say, patience and the entry was a big problem.
Listen, we know what exactly happened in the final few moments, so there's no point in touching onto that. But did you understand when I said come fly with me moment?
No, absolutely not.
The old GTA Vice City fans are now going to be super triggered. But you know what? I'm going to ignore that and move on because Revenue Esports' chicken dinner was indeed quite flawless, and you really got to give it to the man himself, Sensei. But I'm still waiting for Revenue Esports to start taking advantage of the bounty system and also start taking advantage of the power play.
Yes, absolutely. But again, it just seems to be the case that at least now since they've got this chicken dinner, they've got some kind of momentum in their hand, right? Because they were only playing this one game today. So them securing those 19 points was super important too. Not a lot of those teams getting a lot of points out there. Just some bounties being handed left, right and center. That's why we also see God's Reign having those 10 points. That was the early eliminations coming in for their side. I think so there was only one bounty that was secured. That was by Carpe Diem over Team Tamilas. Because again, that was the fight they went in forward to take. But One Blade, Vasishta Esports, Team Forever, Team Tamilas, WSB, Soul. So many problems out there down the leaderboard.
I mean, when you're in the top 4, you cannot afford to have any of these loose games. And Team Tamilas, they just got one single point in that previous game. That means probably in the overall standings, there's a high chance their position is going to be compromised by someone else. And probably it's going to be Global Esports because they had a banger of a game previously. And not just that, I mean, talk about making things a bit more easier. The tap and pay on your Android device, this is another thing that can make your life so much more easy.
I mean, there's one feature that you normally always utilize, right? And specifically in the field when you just have to use that UPI for every single thing, making you feel like Bill Gates. Tap and pay is a very fast method, but something that we are seeing happen right now in the leaderboard is, of course, the fact that all the teams that we normally saw in the top 4, some of them have been dropped down to over 10th place as well. But a big leap coming in from Mogo, 113 points right now at the 12th position. I think so they also stand a chance to enter the top 4 if they keep the consistency up.
All of that is fine, but what just happened to IQ Soul? The consistency has dropped drastically. We mentioned this, right? Recently, IQ Soul's not able to find a lot of the points in the game. For IQ Soul, the previous game could have been much better, but for some reason, they were not the one to come out on top. But now it's time to move on to the map of Sanhok, where things will be spiced up even more. Off the bat, I want to see a lot of fights.
It's the map of Sanhok again. The jungle area. We probably are going to see the exact same boot camp the last time we
I mean,
saw.
listen, for some teams, Sanhok comes in with a lot of happy moments. But for some teams, they're just disappointed to play the map of Sanhok. They do not love to face each other off on the map of Sanhok, especially in BGMS.
I know. I really love to see that happen. Those early fights is what I really wait to see. I really thrive to see. Mogo is not going to be there, so we already know that that thing is a different thing. But most of the teams are definitely going to move fearlessly in through this entire map, just like the Philips One Blade.
Exactly, and the map of Sanhok, you need to move fearlessly, because if you're not going to do so, you can be stung by a snake anytime. So you need to be quick, and if you're not doing so, well, then you will be taken down by someone just lying prone on the ground. Before now, it's time for us to toss to a short break.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna lead. Now you hear me roll like raw in my beastly mode. Now, wow.
Wicked Unleashed.
That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider. Unleash your wicked.
Share it, share it, share it, share it, share it, share it, share it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
What's up, everyone? Come on in.
I got 100 ways that I could make you look. You cannot read me, I ain't no page in a book. But there's 100 ways that I could make you look.
Wow.
Make you make you look.
Wow.
Look, make you look.
This game of Sanhok might just bring in a lot of surprises, but it can also bring in some shiny moments for a few teams that likes to start things off on the aggressive moment. And talk about the shiny moments for you guys, the audience that's currently watching from their home. Google Play Days are live. Grab the best BGMI deals right now.
Oh, you gave me the throw. I was actually grabbing the best BGMI deals right now. I mean, you can't really stop me. It's pretty tempting, to be very honest. But
hey, you know what? The deals are so good, I'm gonna gift it to you, man. It's fine. I got you, bro.
Let's go. That's like my bro out there. I wish I could also gift a few points to some of the teams who are doing pretty bad in that leaderboard, because you really want to see all of those shiny players move up and show us what they've really got.
Hey, listen, man. If those players are really shiny, they will move up by themselves.
Indeed.
That's what they're here to prove, right?
Indeed.
They're here to prove that they're some of the best teams that the Indian region has ever seen. And you talk about some of the best teams, one of those godlike in front of our screen. So far, they're not been able to prove themselves that well, but I'm not sure what the storyline holds for them. If in the future they're not able to prove themselves, then one thing is for sure, that tag might just be taken away from them.
Highly possible. You need to show that godly performance if you want to remain the gods of the BGMI scene. But honestly, a new team is starting to research. This is going to be Team Tamilas that we've been talking about. The team that is not that shiny, but always find some crucial points, some crucial finishes, and always end up in that situation where they're in the top 4. Bounties, yes, being hunted, but at the same time, they always are in some good positions whenever it comes down to that circle, right?
And talk about the positions, a team is that's not even seen around the zone. Team X Park. And I guess the players are going for a mental reset before they step in to the game of Sanhok. This game will be allowing the teams to go a bit more aggressive, so maybe X Park, we might just see the rebirth. And soon enough, the plane will be hitting the skies. This game of Sanhok will bring in a lot of surprises. We do not know. Maybe some of the big dogs will take an exit off the rip. Maybe the bounties can be claimed with these. There's so many possibilities that can happen. We might see a lot of drop collisions because we haven't seen a lot of Sanhok being played in this BGMS Season 3.
I'm really excited to see what boot camp is hiding for us, what boot camp is holding for us. What's basically booting up in boot camp. That's a good wordplay out there. But at the same time, I want to see Carnival Gaming. They showed an aggressive performance yesterday, and I want to see this team continue that today as well. Yes, maybe not a 1v4, a full-on 4v4 fight being converted as flawlessly as Reckoning does. Because let's be honest, I haven't really seen any team perform so impeccably like them.
I mean, in this domination week, CG, the only thing in their mind is to dominate the lobby. A lot to fill the plate with, and yesterday Neo definitely filled the plate with an incredible clutch against Team Z, where CG could have taken an exit from the lobby with next to none points. But just because of that one single clutch from Neo, it changed the entire fate for CG. And today they're definitely going to be stepping inside of the playing field with much more of a refined and a good mindset. IQ Seoul, a team that might just be pushed down a bit more in the overall standings. If they do not pop up well in this upcoming map, then things will be way too dicey for them.
I really wanted to see the possibility if we're going to see Global Esports drop it towards Camp Alpha with IQ Seoul. Maybe an early action that would have been booted up, but Global is not playing in this one since it's Group A. So 8-Bit, Carnival, Raven, Team Z, all of them are out in the open.
Carnival recently, they haven't been dropping on their main home turf.
Yes.
So maybe CG can go for a drop collision against IQ Seoul towards Camp Alpha. This will be quite a spicy storyline if it does come into fruition. For Godlike, I'm not sure what the game plan is going to be, but one thing is for sure, they would need to start hunting down teams once again. Try and take the advantage of the power play. It's going to grant you so many points if you do manage to wipe out a squad. And if you do make that flawless, well then that's even better. The cherry on top of the cake that you need.
Because you do not have a long time after this week. It's going to go down in towards that playoffs where obviously there's going to be a humongous amount of pressure. So you do need to pick as many teams out possible right now. Because you want those early points, you want to breach in that top 4. And talking about breaching into that top 4, Vasishta Esports as well, a team that was at the first place for one of the longest time, is now looking farther from that top 4.
OG, the boys are quite focused because they know on the overall leaderboard, they can't slip down anytime. For a lot of these teams, their backs are against the wall. But for some of the teams, they're looking to breach in that top 4. For teams like Vasishta Esports, in the previous game, they got taken down off the rip. But with that, even their chance to move in was taken away. Now they've got a heavy climb to do, a Herculean task in front of their screens. As we step into the second game of the day, the Big Bird's gonna hit the skies once again. This time in the rainforest. The plane flap pad starts all the way from Nakam towards Camp Bravo. And this plane flap pad is perfect.
It always is the scenario whenever we talk about Sanhok. Carnival Gaming taking an early drop as well, moving a bit up north, probably will end up towards Ruins. But I want to see where IQ Seoul is going to be headed. Normally we do see this team head over towards Camp Alpha, but this time around, seems to be that is not going to be the case. Are we going to see this team jump into boot camp and probably boot up some weaponries to open some skulls out there? We're going to see this team go entirely in a different direction. That's a big thing. That's a big question. Reckoning moving up north over towards Paradise Resort. That's exactly where Godlike is also going.
Look at Hector. He's moving all the way down south towards Sami. And there's a big drop collision between Raven and 8-Bit. Reaper's a little bit spread out. But 8-Bit, they've still got a few more players to deal with of Raven Esports. And Raven Esports is one of those teams that's in a red-hot form. Team Forever going up against Vasishta Esports. It's a fight that's been happening over and over again. Sometimes it's Vasishta Esports to come out on top. Sometimes it's Team Forever who deals a lot of damage against them. There's way too many fights happening off the rip. Even Godsreen is engaging in one of those fights. Towards Paradise Resort, there's IQ Seoul facing off against Godlike. Even Reckoning Esports is there. Even Team X-Bar dropped in towards Paradise Resort.
What?
There's 4 teams off the rip wanting to take each other down. And there's also one bounty to be claimed.
Indeed.
Godlike, they do deliver the finishing blow to Team X-Park, but can they keep on with the momentum?
That's a big question because Nakul remaining out there, but the big threat is Reckoning Esports indeed, because this is a team That has demolished so many players out there. Already having those 8 early points, that means they've taken 4 players down. And it seems that X-Spark, Aiku Soul, Godlike, all of them have been their target. The Wolves are just howling like anything, and Knuckle is scared to his bone. So could be the case with Godlike. Punk, Jonathan, last 2 members remaining with a Vector in the hand and a Beryl. The best weaponry out there for Jonathan is moving backwards as well. I don't think so they're going to stay longer than they need to be. They've got 4 points. Better to back off from here now.
I still don't understand what just happened.
Just one line.
It's a massive mashup.
Massacre.
And then it just does not work out. As you mentioned, a massacre in Paradise Resort. Now it looks like a Hell Resort.
I was about to say that. Not looking like
Soul.
Paradise.
Knuckle is the only man left alive, but keep this thing in mind. This man has been the table turner for Aiku Soul in the past week. And if the same Knuckle pops off once again, then for Reckoning Esports, it might just be their demise they're meeting against, but we might just be asking too much. Gravity IGL, he knows exactly what's going on in front of him. And eventually, the last man of Aiku Soul gets strike down. Reckoning Esports, an easy piece of the pie claimed.
Seems like you actually predict a pretty good future. You mentioned that we might possibly see Aiku Soul move down a bit. And guess what? They've been eliminated with just 2 points. Godlike, if they grab a few, they might be able to overtake them. But Vachesta Esports up against the members of Team Forever. Both the teams looking for the form. One on 9th, the other on 16th.
The stalemate, it just keeps on increasing. But my question is, what just happened to the fight between 8-Bit and Raven? I guess 8-Bit, they have been completely eliminated from the game.
Raven as well, I guess.
No, Raven Esports is there, down south, towards Camp Charlie. 8-Bit, they have been taken out from the game. Unfortunate exit. They only managed to get 2 points. For 8-Bit, even for them, the firefights are not being converted, just like Team Z.
They're at the 20th position right now. And that's a big red signal for them.
Indeed it is.
Not being able to win those fights is... It eventually will come down to the situation where you have to take these gunfights, and for now, it's Team Z, the team that you just mentioned, trying to catch a couple of players out there, but it's Carnival Gaming, looking in red hot form. No way we are seeing that.
Once again, Team Z hunting down CG, or maybe the opposite end. But for CG, Team Z has always been one of those preys that they can try and hunt down. But CG this time, they're moving away. For Team Z, maybe it's a good thing. It's a big sigh of relief for them. Because yesterday, what Neo pulled off, they would not want to go off against CG once again. But yeah, for Team Z, they just try to keep their calm. They try to keep their composure. And CG moves away from that spot. I don't think so CG would want to go for the fight off the rip like that. Vachesta Esports slowly and steadily moving up against the players of Team Forever as Ash is there in the outskirts, and now Vachesta Esports, they push up. Ash gets taken down in the outskirts, and now for Vachesta Esports, they've got all the advantage they can ask for.
Wow.
Last Man Mafia gets spotted too, and that's going to be the nail in the coffin.
The first knock and then the follow-up after that with a 3-1 split. Beautifully played by Vachesta Esports. Pushing out perfectly, playing with a good bait and switch, good trades coming in as well. And with that, they win it. But wait a second. Carnival Gaming possibly being pounced upon by the members of Team Tamilas. And this is yet again a possible bounty that you can claim. But Carnival Gaming's power has been knocked out already. That's a big problem because Goblin as well is out.
Team Tamilas, a team that holds the bounty atop their head for CG. This can be a dream fight to be converted.
But they're running away.
Yeah, but CG, they're just running away. S-Power was knocked out, the confirmation's instantly going to follow up, and S-Power, I'm pretty sure, he's disappointed in himself at this point. He's not going to be feeling good after that moment. CG down to just a 2-man squad. Neo and Hector still alive. I mean, as long as Neo's there in the lineup, anything can happen.
You know, here's this thing. Now, I know this is going to be a pretty awkward take, but hear me out. With just a couple of players, you'd eventually be able to, what, grab a few scrap points, max to max, maybe spoil a game for another team?
What do you mean by a couple of players? How many players?
Max to max, what, 2 or 3 maybe, and that too if the team is not watching you. If it's a full-fledged, proper 4v2 push, there's no way you're going to win those fights.
I mean, if it's a 3-man squad, you can still win the game. That's what I think.
Too many ifs and buts, too many things to be Looking forward to, but we're going to talk about that in a while though, because One Blade seemed to be hunting down the members of WSB.
One Blade and WSB. One Blade is one of those teams that's been looking decent in their firefights. So for WSB, it's one of those fights that will be tough to convert. Zerif is taken down way too low, and he gets spotted eventually. I'm not sure what WSB's trying to do, but they're showing their backs to the opponents. And that's where the opponents, they get the striking advantage. Drigger inside of the house, keeping his position anonymous. Now he peeks out. He gives his position away. The opponents know where Drigger's position. He fights the first strike, gets the second one too. One Blade now down to a two-man squad for WSB. Drigger is the table turner. Someone needs to take matters in his own hands, and now Drigger is the one to do so. Two more players standing up against him from WSB. Can he make this clutch happen?
But it's so unfortunate that the power play is over. So these are just going to be 2 points.
Raven Esports is being hunted down by Carpadium too. That's another great fight. That's coming into fruition. There's so many fights Sanok just brought to us. It was like a package that just unfolded with flying colors. And we do not know what color we're seeing in front of our eyes right now.
Probably the gray, because it's a bit of a stalemate out here. You could just say yellow. Some shots being fired yet again by Drigger. He really wants to take this one, right? He wants to also be into that, a player who can do the 1v4 thingy list, if you have any. But it's Kana in KSR7, cooking up an 8. Drigger, not a lot of HP to work with.
Drigger wants to take this fight.
Yep.
He does not want to show his back for this fight because he knows already a lot of damage is being dished out against his team. He cannot go for the winning game anyways, but he can definitely convert this fight in his favor. The power play is already done. Drigger's managed to get 2 finishes so far. For WSB, this can be a decent start, only if Drigger manages to take down the remaining 2 players. Another man is taken down way too low, but One Blade, they deny the possibility of this clutch.
Indeed. But it finally is yet again Team Tamilas chasing the members of Carnival Gaming till the end of the earth. And finally probably taking them down too. I guess they're in the clutches of Godlike as well. So that team has also joined in to try and catch a few action out live. Team Z close to the members of Reckoning. Reckoning's bounty is still claimable. And as you mentioned, the members of Raven up against Carpadium. Hanzo is going to be taken down. Sprayed down. Kamla showing his position perfectly by diving in.
Wait, did Raven have a bounty on top of their head? No, right?
Nope, no bounty. They were out of top 4 for a while.
Yeah, you got a point. But yesterday, Raven Esports, they got the chicken dinner, so I thought maybe they would have the bounty, but Team Tamilas is the one to hold the bounty with them for now.
True.
But if there was a bounty on top of their head, then for Carpadium, the exact bounce back they needed.
I mean, you could talk about it. Yeah, that's probably what they needed, but I don't think so that's enough. You have to hunt the bounties in these cases because the fights are happening all around the board. The players are being finished off by different teams, and that's what you really want to focus on. Atanki out in open.
OG once again switching the playing for. Yesterday, I think he was not playing. It was Wizjod, AKOB, Veyron, and Aru. This time, I think he's back in the playing for. OG,
okay,
sort of struggling with their firefights, but this time they start things off with a bang. Second man taken down as well. AKOB once again, the man's feeling himself. The third man gets strike down. OG, I think he's the one to take down Phantom right there. But Godsreen's Fury is the last remaining player inside of the fight. And Godsreen, they hold the bounty on top of their head, but no, it's the third party.
We'll have to check. Is it? No, it's Aru. It's Aru to claim the last man.
Oh my god, no, it's not a third party. As you mentioned, it was Aru from the far fray to strike down the last player. That's the bounty claim from OG. But it was not done in the power play, so that's going to be 14 points in total.
Yeah, that's true. But it's absolutely fine, right? 10 additional points. That's what you would love to have. But right now, oh my god. Punk with a third party nade coming in. Saeed has been taken down. So Scout has to give it that revival. Never
oh my god, no way.
Obviously, it's going to be Jonathan with his nades.
Team Z once again struggling in their fights, completely lost, do not know what to do. And within an instance, they have been eliminated from the game by Godlike. What just happened? Team Z started things off with the advantage. And now within an instance, the entire team's been eliminated from the game.
Yeah, it's
I
again,
mean, it's fine. You're not able to convert the 4v4 fights, but if you do not even stand a chance in those 4v4 fights, then that's a big concern. And Team Z, that fight was taken in quite a weird manner where Team Z had no clue where the opponents are positioned.
just some free points for the members of Godlike. That's what I'll say. And they pounced on it perfectly. Even Godlike has got 6 finishes and Punk has 4. Man is playing out of his mind. He's just searching so many players left, right and center. He's pouncing onto those good opportunities. But talking about opportunity, right? There's another chance for the members of OG to try and take another bounty, as there's reckoning right now in Paradise Resort.
Maybe you can't say Godlike finally realizing the importance of power play and the finish points.
Probably.
This is what they needed. I mean, just look at it. 8 points off the rip like that. That's one of the best starts Godlike has had. I mean, compare this start to the previous start of Miramar.
Miles apart.
Exactly my point. I mean, they did not even have 8 points or maybe 8 finish points till the end of the Miramar game. So,
true.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the best starts Godlike can ask for. And now they just need to keep on moving up with the same momentum, as I mentioned.
You know what? The position that the members of OG have taken was the exact position where Team Z got deleted. Because Godlike came in for a third party from behind.
Reckoning Esports is still in that same spot. It's crazy.
Since the starting minute.
Yeah.
My God.
They've got 11 finish points so far. That's really nice. And now OG in the front lines, and Immortal knows exactly where the players of OG are. Aru's position is compromised. He's peeking out slowly and steadily from the shot. He wants to bait some of the shots upon himself so that he knows the confirmation of the enemy's position.
Probably.
But it's a trapping setup from Reckoning Esports. They're ready. It's a spring trap. As soon as the players of OG, they step into this area, the spring trap activates.
Just want to see how well it's going to work. Because OG are also looking in a pretty solid form, specifically AK in this one. Couple of knocks with the DBS as well in the previous fight. And there was a good amount of support coming in from Aru. I want to see Atanki pop off as well, right? Because this man in that previous official tournament was also doing pretty solid. I want to see how he's going to perform. Having some struggles, but at least he's got 1 finish in this one.
I mean, I think he's a different kind of assaulter, right? He is an assaulter. He's a fragger. But he's a team player.
True.
He only goes aggressive when his team makes the calls. He likes to play with a team. He can also play back sometimes if his team needs so. So I think he's quite a flexible player. He can also go aggressive. He can also play passive. And that's why sometimes he's not the one with the flashy plays. But he does add on a lot of firepower to OG. Reckoning Esports at the top. And what a nade that was from Atanki. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The player's so clinical. Hunter shut down. And now Viper is slowly and steadily moving towards the players of OG. The trap has been reversed against Reckoning Esports. There's another man at the top. And Viper's position is still left uncompromised. Immortal needs to do something. Stop this entire push from OG coming through. Another nade comes as well, and that's gonna re-knock the player who was revived, and it also knocks Hunters in return.
But mind it again, just a couple of more players remaining for Reckoning. And FNK, oh, Immortal, is he spotted?
Yes, he is known.
Yeah, he's known. Yeah, he can now be finished off as well.
That cosmetic has been spotted, and yeah, won't be taken down. He does not stand a chance. OG, the patience, they pay off, but Reckoning Esports, they make a big rookie mistake. They should have waited a bit more and waited for the players of OG to step in their own trap. Instead, Reckoning Esports' one player started to make a lot of noise on top, and a nade came in from Atangi. That found the opener, and then it was a domino effect.
Ah, Mr. That's Gravity IGL is actually running away now, trying to deny that bounty. And OG, they've got absolutely no clue where this last player is. And they're now going to prioritize the circle itself because it has formed over up north as most of the teams are already in there. So you want to occupy some of the good positionings, but good denial from Gravity IGL is what I'll say. But as you mentioned, just an early bit of movement coming in on top. That's what gave that possession away, and the Apes will capitalize on that. It's the map of Sandhawk after all. They like to play on this one.
Carpadium, all 4 players sort of spread out towards the right side of the map.
It's good, right?
It's really good. I mean, look at the amount of territory the boys are controlling, right? You see the left side of the map and the southern side. There's multiple teams, but on the right side, there's just Carpadium. It's like the Alpha Wolves that no one else want to face off against.
The road is kind of dividing the circle perfectly in half. In one half, there's Carpadium, and then the other half, all the other teams.
Yeah, I mean, Vasista Esports too, they've got a 1/4 in their hand.
True.
So even they're controlling a lot of that tempo. Gravity IGL is slowly and steadily looking to squeeze himself in that 1/4, but he does not know that he will be pincered as Vasista Esports. Apollo gets knocked out, and Gravity's the man to do so. So that's 1 extra point added to the tally. For Reckoning Esports, they've already dished out a lot of damage to the lobby. They can't afford to take an exit from this game anytime.
It's just a few extra cherries on top of the cake that they've made. And as you mentioned, they can just take an exit whenever they want. In the meantime,
they've gotten 12 points so far, so
true.
It's still counting.
And also, some position points will be awarded to the team right now. Only 7 teams remaining in total.
Team Tamilas, even they're still in the race. They're taken down with 3-man squad, so I guess the bounty's not claimable anymore. But they can still be the damage dealers. And now for Carpadium, look at the zone. It shifts in their court so much. They're controlling the entire pace of the game.
True. I kind of wanted OG to chase and find the positions of Gravity, because again, you get a chicken dinner, you get 10 points. You find Gravity, finish him off, you get additional 10 points. I think so that would have been a bit more better, but on the other side of the spectrum though, since as you mentioned, the circle shifted up north, now it's Carpadium controlling over 55% of the circle. Jonathan firing a few shots, will finally be taken down as well. He was out in the open, knocked out by Playzone, so no one's going to be catching that 1 point.
Vasista Esports with a 3-man squad still can be dominant. Gravity IGL position is compromised, and yeah, it's the firing squad that he needs to face off against. And the wrath is undealable. And now Vasista Esports' players, they're in quite a critical condition. Godlike's Punk on the opposite side of this compound wall, while KSR, he's inside of the shack. Does he have any throwables? That's the question. Does he know that Punk is right there? That's another question. But I'm pretty sure he knows that Punk is right around the corner. Now Punk pulls out the shotgun. He gets the striking advantage. Lands the first bullet, but it does not do a lot of damage. So KSR7 now is well aware of Punk's scenario. And now it's a proper 1v1 situation. But beautiful play coming in from Punk as he shoots his toes. And now KSR7 is way too low. All it takes is one single shot. KSR, he tried to pull off some brilliant moves, but it just did not work out. And now look at OG. They're here to third party, but do they just know it's one player from Godlike? Punk goes for the reload. He gets the reload in the hand, but he's not going to get any knockouts secured.
That's a big problem for OG now. Atanki, he can give the revive, that is true, but Wisjord is also down on his knees. They found some amazing finishes. Aru is not even there, so they're just down to last 1 man remaining. The Blue is also going to start move. The only good thing for them is, in fact, that Blue is moving slowly on their side. But they've got such an open ground now. Vasista Esports being pounced upon. This nade should get that damage. The Secret is down on his knees.
I mean, Carpadium, they've got so many utilities in their arsenal. They can keep on tossing those nades for entire days. And now Vasista Esports' players slowly and steadily crumbling down against the wrath of the opponents. Another nade sails in, and that's going to write the demise of Vasista Esports in this game. They take an exit on the 3rd spot, but now it's going to be Carpadium facing off against Team Tamilas in a 3-on-3 fashion.
50-50 for the prediction. This is the best thing you could ask for, but the circle shifts on Carpadium.
Now it's 70-30. Team Tamilas, as long as they do not get the control of the zone in their hand, it will be in the favor of Carpadium.
Yeah.
But the boys are slowly and steadily
Lovely.
moving up, and now the odds are stacked with the players of Carpadium.
It's
another
done.
nade sails in, it gets another knockout. Yeah, return knock was there on Max Payne, but is that really gonna matter when you've got the man advantage? And just like that, the final spray down, it's gonna confirm the chicken dinner in the hands of Carpadium. We had a lot of question marks because Carpadium was not able to find any sort of a single success, but finally they do in this map of Sanhok. It comes in with a delivery of life for Carpadium.
Playing phenomenally, controlling most of the circle out there for the last two stages. And even though in one situation it shifted against them, they bounced on the members of Vashishta Esports and finished them off. Beautifully played by Carpadium boys, but I'm also going to bring the attention back to the members of Orangutan, claiming a bounty, also almost eliminating Reckoning Esports, grabbing some crucial 9 finish points. It has been a pretty good game for them too.
Indeed, it has been a fantastic day, even inside of Para's Resort. I mean, it looked like hell Resort. There was Aiko Soul, Godlike, Reckoning Esports. There was another team right in the center between them. Then Team Z came into play. Even Team Z got shut down. So many factors that were there. We also saw Team Forever face off against Vashishta Esports in boot camp. This previous game of Sanhok definitely brought up the heat. And one thing is for sure, it amped up the entire heat too. Let's move on to the stage for a short interview.
भाई दिन का दूसरा मैप सैनहॉक और वहाँ पे कापी टीम ने अपना निकाला है चिकन डिनर। पुकार, लास्ट में जो हमने देखा जरा उसकी बात कर लेते हैं। एक तरफ टीम तमिलास, एक तरफ तुम, नेट पे नेट चल रहे थे। एट एनी गिवन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम क्या कुछ नर्वी मोमेंट्स थे?
जोन पूरा एडवांटेज हम लोगों पे था, क्लियरली हमारा चिकन डिनर था, तो इसमें वो तो कोई पॉइंट ही नहीं था कि टीटी ये मैच कहीं से भी जीत सकती है, तो ये मैच तो हमारा ही था।
यू नो, हमने जब आज दिन की शुरुआत की थी, आपकी टीम जो है इट्स अमंग्स दोस टीम्स जो नंबर 5 से लेके नंबर 10 स्पॉट पे हैं। 4 टीमें जो हैं फाइनल में जाने वाली हैं। कुछ टीम्स के आईजीएल जो हैं वो चाहते हैं कि नहीं यार, हम लोग डायरेक्ट क्वालिफाई नहीं करना चाहते। सम ऑफ देम थिंक डिफरेंटली। क्या आपको पता था कि आज चिकन डिनर निकालेंगे? एंड आर यू लुकिंग एट द नंबर 4 स्पॉट?
देखो, मैं एकदम क्लियरली बोलूँगा, आज हम लोग बात करके आए थे कि आज हम एक मैच जीतने वाले हैं और एक बाउंटी भी लेने वाले हैं, तो हमने बाउंटी भी लिया आज एक, और एक चिकन भी लिया। जो हमारे उससे स्कोरबोर्ड से मिसिंग था वो दोनों हमने आज कंप्लीट कर दिए।
कुछ हद तक आपकी परफॉर्मेंस कंसिस्टेंट रही, फिर जब ये इतना अनरिलेंटिंग फॉर्मेट है कि कहीं पे भी चूक होती है, कहीं पे भी गलती होती है, सो यू एंड अप गिविंग अवे पॉइंट्स, यू एंड अप लूजिंग पॉइंट्स, बट इस स्टेज पे क्या चीज़ें हैं जिस पे अभी भी काम करना बाकी है सीडी को?
हम लोगों को थोड़ा कोऑर्डिनेशन पे ही वर्क करना है, क्योंकि हमारी टीम 20 दिन पहले ही बनी है, और बाकी तो इतना कुछ है नहीं। कोऑर्डिनेशन ही मेन है, सिनर्जी मेन है, बाकी ऐसा तो कुछ प्रॉब्लम हम लोग फेस नहीं कर रहे हैं खास।
20 टीमें हैं एंड आई एम श्योर 20 की 20 टीम्स, एक्चुअली 19 आपके लिए राइवल्स हैं, बट उनमें से एक रेवेनेंट है। सो एनी मैसेज टू योर राइवल्स रेवेनेंट?
रेवेनेंट को क्या ही मैसेज दूं मैं? अभी वो लोग खेल रहे हैं सेफली, चिकन निकाल रहे हैं, किल्स उनके आ रहे हैं जैसे भी आ रहे हैं, पर अच्छा खेल रहे हैं वो लोग, चिकन्स तो निकाल रहे हैं, अच्छा खेल रहे हैं।
और एंटिटी
के लिए भी एंटिटी मतलब इतना अच्छा नहीं कर पा रही है अभी। उनका हो गया 1-2 मैचेस में उनका लक चल गया, पर एंटिटी को थोड़ा इंप्रूव करने की ज़रूरत है।
हाँ, बहुत टीचर लाइक एक बात बोली है एंटिटी के लिए, बट सेंसे को एक कॉल आउट जो आ चुका है। लेकिन ये चिकन डिनर ऑन सैनहॉक जाता है कापीटीएम को। थोड़ा सा ब्रेक, वापस लौटेंगे।
खुद को साबित किया है हर बार, इस बार जीत की पुकार।
Red Bull gives you wings.
Wow.
ਨਵੀਂ ਦੱਸਦੀ ਉਹ ਕੁੜੀ ਸੱਚੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਜਗਦੀ ਰਕਾਨ ਚੰਨ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਜਿੰਨੀ
Circle to search. Only on Android.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna leave. Now you hear me roll like raw in my beastly mode. Now, wow.
Wicked unleashed.
That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TBS Raider. Unleash your wicked.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
I mean, as Pucar mentioned, the chicken dinner was written in their luck, and that's what exactly happened. The circle was forming right on top of them over and over again, and it feels like even the players, they had the game face on, right, with the Garnier Men's face wash.
Indeed, and that's probably what gave Carpedium the buff to win out that chicken dinner as well. They mentioned they wanted a bounty, they wanted a chicken. They've got both of them, I guess. I still have to check if they actually got the bounty on the hand of Team Tamilas, because the last I saw was a 50-50 prediction with 3 members of Team Tamilas remaining and 3 members of Carpedium.
I mean, I think so. They probably eliminated 1 man from the side of Team Tamilas off the rip, and then later on they managed to take down the remaining 3 players of Team Tamilas.
Probably.
So that's probably the case. But for Carpedium, one thing is for sure. They got the chicken dinner, and this is something we all are waiting for. If they have claimed the bounty as well, then that's going to be additional 10 points at the top. For Carpedium, it's a date with destiny. Before some of the teams that got taken down off the rip, for Team Forever, once again, the woes keep on continue. For Team Z, they're not able to recover from that setback clearly.
And it's not just both of these teams, it's also Aiku Soul as well, who dropped in way too early towards Paradise, and Team X-Bug, which was the last team that dropped into that Paradise, which we missed out as well. It was Soul, Godlike, X-Bug and Reckoning Esports, where Reckoning came out on top. So yes, a lot of these teams struggling for the entire you could say comfort, or also the scenario where they want those points, they're trying to take the fights, but they're just not winning those fights.
We also saw Raven Esports get hunted down, right?
Yes.
Even CG, they were on the hunt off the rip. They went towards the opposite side. They were taking quite a long rotation. For a moment, we thought that CG might just face off against Team Z, but then Team Z, they went towards Paradise Resort. Now, I don't understand what the game plan was for Team Z there, because when you're an outsider moving inside of Paradise Resort, when you do not know what exactly is going on in that vicinity, I'm not gonna lie, for a mid-game fight, that's a pretty bad place.
It seems like they had absolutely no clue that there could be another team remaining there,
behind them.
Players. Exactly.
Which was godlike.
There was also a big questionable decision too, because exactly where the nade landed, that was the same spot where Scout went in for the revival as well. So
no reposition, right?
No reposition. That's the whole point about it. So quite a lot of difficulties them facing in that situation, but definitely Carpedium having a lot of fun, since Max is the MVP of the game with 5 finishes.
And I guess they also got a decent amount of finishes on the belt, right? 5 finishes, just 45% finish contribution. So it was indeed quite a decent game at the bounty points at the top. Even better, there's icing on top of the cake that's needed. Best companion, it's going to be Atanki. And trust me when I say this, OG winning against Reckoning Esports, the only reason why they won is because of this one single man, Atanki. If that nade wouldn't have found the knockout, then OG would have fell prey to Reckoning Esports 100%.
Yes, that was a perfect trap being laid by Reckoning, but that first knockout was definitely what this team needed. And Orangutan are actually on top with 23 points out there, claiming the bounty as well. Carpe Diem too, not falling that far behind. But
wait, they did not claim the bounty. Exactly what I'm saying.
Exactly what I said was that they did not finish off that last player of Team Tamilas.
I mean, when we were tossed to a short break, this was the conversation between me and Shaishanu. We mentioned which team did they take down, which held a bounty on top of their head. Then we discussed maybe Team Tamilas, considering they had 3 players standing in the final few moments, and they probably took down 1 player early on. But Carpe Diem, they did not claim the bounty, and exactly what happened.
I guess so. They were mentioning about the previous game where they claimed 1 bounty, which... Yeah, when after the game we had the discussion that Carpe Diem did claim a bounty. That's why they also have that 10 points. That's probably what they're mentioning. So in both the different games, 2 different milestones, they achieved it perfectly. It was a pretty decent game for Carpe Diem.
It was a decent day, yeah, definitely. For Carpe Diem, this is exactly what they needed to bring themselves back in the groove, and they have done so. For OG too, the second game was quite nice, right? 21 points or 23 points accumulated from that team. That's pretty nice because OG, they claimed the bounty against Reckoning Esports. Keep that thing in mind.
They played it perfectly. Was it Reckoning or was it some other team? That's something we have to check because if I'm not wrong,
it was Reckoning Esports in Paradise Resort, 100%.
Okay, I guess you're gonna lose out to that bet because Gravity ran away from the fight and was finished off by Vasista later on.
Yeah, that's the point as well. Then which bounty did that team claim? OG, I mean, they were definitely taking a lot of fights, right?
I guess we're going to see that in this history as well because there was definitely 1 bounty. I'm skipping the team that's in my mind. I had literally forgot. Was it Global Esports? No, I don't think so. It was Global Esports. There was some other team. We'll have a check on that because, again, the replay is showing us some amazing fights too. Trigger with a crazy moment against One Blade, at least putting a dent onto their lineup.
Now I remember, I think so OG, they got a lot of points in the power play. So that's why they had 23 points in total. But yeah, OG facing off against the players of God's Ray, and that's the bounty that they claimed. Now I get it. Because OG, they faced off against Reckoning and God's Ring themselves too, and these were the 2 teams that had the bounty in their hands. They almost wiped out the entirety of Reckoning Esports, but as you mentioned, the last man, Gravity IGL, he was alive for quite a long time.
Yeah, he just ran away, he took an exit for that, and it was a pretty good decision, right? Because if that bounty was given to OG, they would have ended at 20, not even 20,
43 points.
34 points.
34 points.
Yeah, exactly. That's still a pretty big leap. So denying your opponents to close in that distance, that's what you needed. And OG, they went in for a long rotation, were taken down, and eventually, this was a great pick by Carpe Diem.
Hands down, it was a really nice pick. Then the utility utilization too from Max Payne and his teammates, which were Carpe Diem. Nicely done. Team Tamilas, they could not have stand a chance because they needed to move inside of the safety lines, and that's where they screwed up. The zone just favored the players of Carpe Diem, and as Pakar himself mentioned, they did not really work too hard for this chicken dinner. It was just in their territory.
Yeah, true. But again, at the same time, we have to focus down on the fact how they had 55% of the circle for them.
Yeah.
So even though it was in their territory, they had the majority of that territory in their favor. So working around, realizing where the opponents are, and then positioning yourself to utilize that circle is definitely amazing. And again, they did not fail like the Red Bull can. They made sure that they were standing on top.
I mean, if the other teams wanted, they could have definitely went in for the other portion, but this game of Sanhok just came in with a lot of aggression. Teams wanted to challenge, fight left, right, and center towards Paradise Resort. It looked like Hell Resort. Even in Boot Camp, we had a drop collision. Even Raven Esports, they faced off against 8-Bit. They wiped out 8-Bit entirely. I mean, the standout player of the day, it's going to be Max Payne from Carpe Diem because they've had a fantastic day today.
You know, fun fact, he's got 6 finishes in total. 5 of them were from the previous map of Sanhok.
Just got 1 finish in the first game, right? But still, for Carpe Diem, this is the exact bounce back we needed to see. Now they're back to life. Now we just want to see what the future holds because the top 4 is still looking solid.
Exactly. So I also want to see how many teams are going to tumble down there, and if Global Esports is up in the top 4 or not. That's a big question for me.
Exactly. But you know what? Let's move on to the short interview with the man from Carpe Diem, Max Payne.
And Max Payne here from Carpe Diem. You know the first question, so I'm not going to waste my time and your time asking you that question. Could have stopped at Max, लेकिन तुम Max पे रुके नहीं, तुम्हें और दर्द चाहिए था अपने नाम के आगे. Why Max Payne, bro?
एक्चुअली मुझे नहीं चाहिए था, मेरे टीममेट्स ने बोला कि ऐसा नाम रखना जो तुम करोगे गेम में. सो उन्होंने ही सजेस्ट किया कि सबको पेन देना है तो अपना नाम मैक्स पेन रख.
आई होप सारा जवाब जो है वो आपको मिल गया है. हमारे जो कास्टर्स हैं वो भी इसका इंतजार कर रहे थे. और लिसन, अभी जब हमारी पुकार के साथ बात हो रही थी एट द एंड ऑफ दैट मैच जो आपने सैनॉक पे खेला, आपकी टीम जो है वो टूर्नामेंट के बस कुछ ही टाइम पहले बनी थी, राइट? एंड चाहे वो ज़िंदगी में रिलेशनशिप हो या ये स्पोर्ट हो, यू नीड केमिस्ट्री. तो केमिस्ट्री पे हाउ डिड यू गाइज इवन वर्क एंड वाज इट इजी और वाज इट डिफिकल्ट?
एक्चुअली ज़्यादा कुछ डिफिकल्ट तो नहीं था बिकॉज अभी कोऑर्डिनेशन अभी भी नहीं है, बट सोलो गेम सबका अच्छा है, इसलिए ज़्यादा दिक्कत तो नहीं हो रही है. कोऑर्डिनेशन अभी बिल्ड हो रहा है एंड फाइनल्स तक हो जाना चाहिए.
जब मैं पहुंचा था ना वहाँ इनकी डेस्क पे, इसने मुझे साफ बोल दिया था, भैया आप मुझसे कोई सवाल मत पूछना. हु वुड हैव थॉट कि ये स्टैंड आउट प्लेयर ऑफ द डे बन जाएगा 6 फिनिशेस के लिए. यू गॉट अमेजिंग कंट्रोल. लेकिन अब कापी डीएम के लिए मेन टारगेट क्या है कि आप प्लेऑफ्स में खेलना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि ये जो आपने सारी मुश्किलें बताई, डू यू वांट टू मेक श्योर दैट यू आयरन देम आउट बिफोर यू गो इनटू द फाइनल्स, या आप से फाइनल में पहुंचना चाहते हैं?
अभी फाइनल्स में पहुंचना चाहते हैं. ऑब्वियसली हर टीम टॉप 4 के लिए आती है एंड टॉप 4 खेल के ही हम जाएंगे, टॉप 4 में ही जाएंगे.
ऑडियंस का एक सवाल आया है कि इस मैच को जीतने के बाद क्या आपको, आपकी टीम कापी डीएम को एक बूस्ट मिला है एज फार एज मोरल इज कंसर्न?
हाँ, बूस्ट चाहिए था, इसीलिए ही चिकन आया, नहीं तो हम चिकन के लिए जा नहीं रहे थे. एंड ये मैच चिकन के लिए ही खेला हमने, इसलिए चिकन भी आया और बूस्ट भी मिला.
दिल क्या कह रहा है भाई? क्या तुम कापी डीएम को फाइनल में देखोगे? ऑडियंस ये पूछ रही है.
फाइनल्स में तो ऑब्वियसली देखेंगे ही.
नहीं मतलब नेक्स्ट स्टेज में ही पहुंच जाएंगे या थोड़ा सा लंबा रास्ता लेंगे?
नेक्स्ट स्टेज में ही पूरा ट्राई है पहुंचने का.
सुपर. रांची का ये लड़का है और आज इसने बिल्कुल वही बात दिखाई है जो रांची के एक और बहुत मशहूर बंदे ने दिखाई थी. मैक्स पेन, थैंक यू सो मच. जवाब मिल चुका है. नाउ नोबडी इज गोइंग टू आस्क व्हाई ही कॉल्स हिमसेल्फ मैक्स पेन.
I mean, Max Payne is here to deliver the maximum pain, but I think so there's also a video game called Max Payne. Maybe that's one of the main reasons why he named himself Max Payne?
Highly possible. I thought the same thing. And again, Suren out here just making me question my life choices out here, mentioning how chemistry is important. I was never a very good student of chemistry.
Okay.
That's the reason why
I mean, he's talking about relationships and the chemistry that you need between your friends or your relationships.
Haven't been good at that either.
Okay, makes sense. But moving forward with the conversation now, Carpadium, as Max Payne mentioned, they're definitely going to try to go for that long shot. They're definitely going to try to directly step into the top 4 and move into the grand finals. But a team that is struggling with their momentum, but a team that was struggling when it comes to the communication and the synergy, does Carpadium really want to directly step in the grand finals? I mean, if they move through the playoffs, it can help them iron the stuff out.
It indeed is true, but at the same time, you do not have a lot of leeway when it comes to those playoffs. So that's probably one thing a lot of those teams would also try to keep that in mind, that it's better to take the rest for a couple of days as well, and also basically read on to what your opponent is doing to try and create a good counter strategy.
I mean, speaking of the opponent, Entity, today's day was not that great, man. We all had expectations from Entity. Equinox, he's still able to deliver the numbers on the board, but for some reason, the rest of the lineup is not coming back to life. Tomorrow's day will be quite crucial for every single team, because as the days keep on passing by, as the games keep on passing by, we know the qualification for the grand finals is way too close. And it's just a few days away for the top 4 teams to directly ship on to the grand finals. But we've got the Philips One Blade moments of the day, and this is how the entire action kicked off, especially in the game of Miramar. Godsreen hunting down the players of WSB, where Godsreen, they made it look so easy.
It was just picture perfect coming in from them and making sure that they apply that code as well in that flying vehicle. That was a perfect pinch. And honestly, if we were talking about the teams that definitely were looking pretty hot, but eventually their flames were extinguished, One Blade and even Godlike.
Yeah, Godlike coming up with some questionable life decisions, quite a questionable rush that they made, and that's why it just did not work out. Then later on, Revenue Esports, with their tactical brilliance, they were the one to come out on top in that game of Miramar. Every single choice they made was perfect. Every single decision they made in the fights was perfect, and this is why I say Revenue Esports' lineup is supposed to play this way.
Indeed, but again, Mogo as well performing pretty decently, if I'm not wrong. They came out second in that entire engagement, maybe third too. And yeah, out there, Sensor also showing the third form of his thunder breathing. Probably a big fan of Zenitsu out there. And if you're a Kimetsu no Yaiba fan, make sure you check out Demon Slayer on Crunchyroll. But hey, all that aside, there was a team that I had high hopes from today, and it was Carnival Gaming, but they failed to deliver.
Hey, talk about failing to deliver, and 8-Bit's not that far behind. Right off the rip in the map of Sanhok, they failed to deliver too. And Vasista Esports taking down Team Forever. For Team Forever, yes, we did witness one glorious day, but then after that, we haven't seen that team back in the race anymore. For WSP, they faced off against the players of One Blade, where Drigger was the only man who was able to keep up with the pace, but unfortunately, he got overwhelmed by the presence of One Blade.
almost trying that 1v4 as well. He was not retreating, he was always repositioning. But talking about repositioning, and this is the moment that pops up. Talk about irony out there. I really wanted to see them change a few things, but eventually things not falling in the hands of Team Z yet again. Early elimination out there, but this was the moment where Atanki provided an insane opening with Vizjot's follow-up.
And then Gravity coming up with the best possible decision to just back away from the fight and make sure that he's not giving the bounty to that one single team. In the end, he got taken down by the players of Assista Esports. That's a whole other thing. But in the final few moments, it was a 3v3 standoff between Carpedium and Team Tumulus, and Carpedium with the zone advantage, they secured the chicken dinner.
Indeed. They wanted to play in for chicken, and they won the chicken dinner as well, as you perfectly mentioned. So a pretty solid day coming in for their side, but another team that again failed to perform, and it is pretty surprising as well because of their consistency that we were looking at, is Team Tamilas.
Oh yeah.
We were having the discussion right before the pre-show and everything that how Team Tamilas is a team that is not in the limelight but is still performing really good, always in that top 4, finding their opportunities and are most of the times dead center in the circle.
I mean, I guess there's a lot of stuff that needs to be broken down, right? There's so much analytical data, especially in the first game in that Miramar fight of Revenue Esports and how they control that entire final few moment. Speaking of Team Tumulus, the second game was decent, I would say, considering they were there in the top 2 with a bit of finish points here and there. So still, it's keeping them in the race. It's keeping them close to that top 4. And as long as you're close to that top 4, that's all that matters, man. If there's a big distance between the 4th and your team's position, then that's a big sign of concern.
Absolutely. And again, since you're already talking about the gap being made, Reckoning is a team that I still feel is making that distance. Now the top 1 is probably out of contention, or top 2 is what I will say. Both of these teams are probably at 190 and over 200 points. So that's a big difference.
Hey man, for teams like IQ Soul, Team Forever, the gap just keeps on increasing. For Team X Park, they're still not being found. We're still trying to search them. And then for teams like Entity, they're slowly and steadily losing their form, losing their grip. But you know what? Let's move on to the BGMS Season 3 breaking point, where a lot of the analytical data will be broken down.
थैंक यू सो मच जॉनी। और यस, आज का दिन जिस तरीके से शुरुआत हुआ, हम सोच भी रहे थे कि किस तरीके से अंत होगा। अंत की जब बारी है तो सबसे बेहतर परिणाम किसी एक ही को मिलता है, और ऑलरेडी हम वो सबने देखा। लेकिन फाइट की जब बारी है तो एक फाइट है जो मेरा पूरा ध्यान खींच के ले गया, और हम सभी का ध्यान इनफैक्ट खींचा है। तो सीधा चलते हैं उस फाइट की तरफ जहाँ पे OB वर्सेस WSB वन ब्लेड का फाइट यहाँ पे स्टार्ट हुआ था काफ़ी बेहतर तरीके से। 4v4 सिचुएशन जहाँ पे वन साइडेड कुछ नहीं था, लेकिन एक चीज़ वन साइडेड क्या हुआ, आइए मैं यहाँ पे आपको दिखाता हूँ। स्टार्टिंग पोजिशनिंग अगर आप देखें तो यहीं से आपको आधी चीज़ें पता चल जाने वाली है। जेरेफ उन्हें पता चल चुका था कि मैं बहुत गलत पोजीशन में, और ये इनको कहीं ना कहीं पीछे की तरफ ढकेला। लेकिन अच्छा लगा यहाँ पे सरकार को देख के, और ये कोऑर्डिनेशन था कि आप थोड़ा ऑफ एंगल निकलिए, थोड़ा वो एंगल बनाइए, और मैं उन्हें मजबूर करूँगा कि आप थोड़ा कवर्स में जाएंगे। और उसके बाद सरकार के पास एक बहुत बेहतर यहाँ पे हमें एंगल आता हुआ देखने को मिला। सो अगर आप देखें यहाँ से उन्हें पुश किया गया, सरकार के आने से पहले इतना ज़्यादा उन्हें डैमेज दे दिया गया था कि बच्चा कुछ काम में उन्हें बड़े आराम से किया। और कभी भी जीवन में बैक दिखाना आपके लिए भारी पड़ता है। मुझे लगता है ये काफ़ी अच्छे तरीके से जेरेफ आप समझ गए होंगे। आज के बाद से कभी भी वो अपना बैक तो नहीं दिखाने वाले। ट्रिगर जो कि एक लौते खिलाड़ी थे वहाँ पे, उन्होंने अपने आप को संभाल के वहाँ पे रखना चाह रहा था, लेकिन यस, जेरेफ को वहाँ पे डाउन किया गया। और देखते ही देखते ये जो फाइट थी वो बहुत ज़्यादा वन साइडेड हमें होते हुए देखने को मिली थी। एक लौता खिलाड़ी जब बचता है तो हम मान के चलते हैं कि हाँ, एक फिनिश, 2 फिनिश, उससे ज़्यादा आप कुछ नहीं कर पाओगे। लेकिन ट्रिगर ये खिलाड़ी कितना एक्सपीरियंस बैग में कैरी करता है उससे हम सब वाकिफ है। तो वही यहाँ पे हमें होता हुआ देखने को मिला। पहले बहुत ज़्यादा यहाँ पे रैली हमें होते हुए देखने को मिला, कंपाउंड टू कंपाउंड, पूरा राउंड द कंपाउंड, हर तरफ जाके परेशान किया। और आखिर में यहाँ पे उन्हें पकड़ा गया, जो कि ये सिचुएशन सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट रहेगा। एंगल जो कि हम जानते हैं एडीएस हमेशा आपको उनके सर पे रखना है, और जैसे ही वो बाहर रहेंगे, जैसे ही वो बाहर आएंगे उसको वहाँ पे इंस्टेंटली एक शॉट देंगे प्यारा सा। और एग्जैक्टली वही हमें वहाँ पे होता हुआ देखने को मिला। काम यहाँ पे खत्म नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि जैसे ही इन्होंने ये नॉक किया वो चाहे फिनिश कर लीजिए, लेकिन जैसे ही उन्होंने फिनिश करने की कोशिश की वहाँ पे सरकार आ गया। और सरकार को भी बोले कि आपकी सरकार तो यहाँ पे नहीं चलने वाली, आपको भी गिराएंगे हम। और सबसे अच्छी बात है, नॉक के बाद वो फिनिशर भी निकालने में उन्होंने ज़्यादा वक्त नहीं लिए, क्योंकि जो बैकअप की बात थी अगर आप देखें तो बहुत ज़्यादा दूर तक भी हमें देखने को मिल नहीं रहा। और इसी कारण काफ़ी आसानी से ये 2 फिनिश हमें आता हुआ देखने को मिला WSB के लिए, जहाँ पे खाली हाथ जाने वाले थे उससे बेहतर तो मैं बोलूँगा कि 2 फिनिश निकालिए, वो भी काफ़ी बेहतर था। बट आखिरकार बहुत ज़्यादा दौड़ा भागी के बाद आखिर में रोका गया, जो कि यहाँ पे एंगल अगर आप देखें, इन्हें पता था कि ये आने ही वाले, और जैसे ही आए वो एंगल रेडी था। ट्रिगर यहाँ पे सोचे समझे, लेकिन जब तक बचने की बारी आई बहुत ज़्यादा देर हो गया। यही वो फाइट थी जिसने मेरा बहुत ज़्यादा ध्यान खींचा। आई नो ट्रिगर ने काफ़ी अच्छी कोशिश की, लेकिन जब नंबर्स की बारी आती है तो उसमें वन ब्लेड ने काफ़ी अच्छे तरीके से वो फ़ायदा उठाया। तो ये था जो फाइट मुझे बहुत पसंद आया। तो मैं कास्टर से जानना चाहूँगा कि आपको ये फाइट कैसा लगा?
I mean, the only reason why WSB is losing out on the majority of the fights is because the timing is just off, man. They do decide to back away from that fight. They do decide to reposition themselves, but then they end up showing their backs to the opponents, and that all comes down to the timing. Their timing has been really crucial, but they're not able to capitalize onto it with perfection.
And as you mentioned, it also comes down to the communication, because as you just stated things, some of the positions are pretty good if you want to aggress on your opponents, but then the call comes out to be just retreat, and that's not the best way where you could go in for that retreat, just with the ZF as to how things happen. So I agree that there have been big questions as to how WSB is playing. I think so. The next few days are going to be super crucial for them.
I mean, the bad thing for Drugger is that, yeah, he did get those 2 finishes instantly wrapped up, but the problem is he didn't get those finishes in the power play. He was just off a few seconds. If he would have gotten those 2 finishes, he would have gotten 4 points in the power play, but unfortunately he was just unlucky, not able to wrap up those finishes in time. Power play ran out, and then he just got 2 individual points for his team. For WSB, it's just a woe that's never ending, and the same thing can be said for Team X-Spark, because they started things off with just a 3-man squad.
Indeed, and as you mentioned, starting things off on 3-man squad, it's not the best way where you would want to jump into the Paradise Resort, because there were so many wicked players out there.
Yeah, and speak of the wicked players, TVS Raider, our mobility partner. I mean, it's not just all about the looks, right? There's a Smart Connect version with 99 connected features. And guess what? It apparently comes with a 5-inch TFT screen. Now, isn't that super wicked? And just look at that Black Panther edition. It looks so good.
Specifically AKOP on top of it, looking like the man who really wants to hunt people, and today he did show it against the members of God's Reign too.
I mean, AKOP has always been the glorious man for this entire lineup. In the past, he's pulled off a nuclear performance, and now once again, AKOP coming back, delivering when it matters the most. Reckoning Esports, the first team to cross that 200 points barrier. They've managed to get 203 points. God's Reign underneath them with 183, and then you've got Team Timilas with 178. As I mentioned, Team Timilas, they've got decent point in the second game to sustain that spot in the top 4.
And the only team who has not got a chicken dinner and is still in the top 4, not just the first page, Global Esports. This team has decided they just want finishes, and they're getting it.
I mean, latter half of the board, CG on the 14th. You've got Team Forever on the 16th, slowly and steadily losing that grip. You've got so many teams that are not supposed to be over here on the latter half of the board, but they still are, and something needs to be done. Look at 8-Bit with just 69 points underneath Team X-Spark 2.
There's a big thing that I just noticed. Mogo has got 2 chicken dinners for themselves, yet not even crossing the 120 point mark, and seeing the difference. 170, 120, that's a 50 point difference already.
That's exactly my point. Destro still believes that teams can play however they want, teams can go aggressive if they want, but we're still going to stick to our main strat, which is to play defensive. But he needs to realize it's BGMS. And the format really compels, really wants these teams to go aggressive and grab those elimination points, because that's the only way you can build yourself that cushion and you can build yourself that point. And if Destro does not go aggressive, well, then playoffs is inevitable.
Absolutely. And then even in the playoffs, you would still need to go aggressive, because you do not have a lot of matches. You've got to create some good amount of points. And the point would not be to just leave the bottom 4 and be in the top 12. It is always going to be in the top 8, in order to make sure if there's any mishap happening in 1 or 2 games, you still have a bit of cushioning. And Mogo, it just feels they're not able to create that. And if things go in the similar way, then even for X-Spark, I'm also pretty worried for WSB and a lot of those players out there.
Hey, most wicked players on the screen. Max EOP still at the top. Aim got on the second with 34. Then you've got Hunters with 34 as well. A bit of a tie. But you can see from the first till the 5th, there's not a lot of points separating these guys.
36 till 31, and Max has also made it into the top 5. This man has been there, and again, most of that is because of WSB, let's be honest, because of those Pochinki drops. Alright, I'm not gonna pound on it long. Ninja Boy with 30, we've got Kamla Boy, Fury Alto, and Flock with 29. So the maximum disparity is of 7 finishes.
I mean, props to Gamla Boy, man. When back in the day he used to play with Entity, Gamla Boy was one of those players that would not go aggressive at all. But as soon as he switched on forward towards the Carpedium lineup now, look at Gamla Boy. He's so good, he's excelling in the firefights.
Absolutely, and making sure that is giving the value to his team as well. We've got 2 players from Carpedium already in there. We've also got God's Reign as well entering into the mix, and the consistency is showing for these teams. And if Carpedium decides that they want to enter in the top 4, seems like they can definitely do it. Their will is pretty strong.
They definitely can't do it. Then you've got a team like Raven Esports, a bit of a slip-up today, but still we know what Raven Esports is capable of. All it takes is one single solid game to once again bring themselves back in that race. But even Global Esports is right around the corner, so that's another one of those teams that you cannot avoid that easily.
Absolutely, and this team has been there without any chicken dinner, so I really love the consistency they're pulling in. And if we're talking about consistency, Team Tamilas can never go out of our mind.
I mean, slowly and steadily, even Vasista Esports is on that climb too, right? The previous game of Sanok wasn't too bad. Vasista Esports can definitely make that bounce back in the top 4, but that's up to the second day. That's up to the latter half of the days that are still left over. Not a lot of days separating the teams to move on directly to the grand finals. But for now, that's going to be it from me, Necro, and Shaishanu. We'll see you guys tomorrow.